What?
Okay.
I'm not processing half of it, but I
This
can hear it.
should theoretically be
Huh?
live again.
Oh.
Oh, why do? Oh, I have an echo again. Twitch is playing sound.
Oh, Twitch is picking it up now?
I muted mine.
Yeah, I'm outside. I have to go inside to get rid of my echo.
Okay, well, as long as it can hear both, that's fine.
Yeah,
Alright,
I was
cool.
able to hear mine.
You can hear yours now?
Well, I muted it, so I couldn't hear
it's working.
myself.
I'm a god! Okay.
Yeah, sure. Wait, I'm leaving because this is for your thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. Alright, cool. It is recording. Alright, we're good to go. We're good to go.
Okay. Epic.
Epic.
So,
Thank you for joining me today, Meek. It's great to have you as the co-host of my co-host
yeah.
for the campaign history of Wait I'm Lucky.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me also, equally.
Yeah, my name
guess.
is technically first, so I'm having you here.
I did list it, but well, it's fine. Okay, I don't think anybody's here yet, but this is a recording that we're doing in order to shore up some information. So yeah, Kaz, why don't you start?
So my name is Meek, and I play Kha'Zix, the Artificer Goblin, in our campaign. Wait, I'm Lucky. We've been playing for a while so far, about a year. So I think it's a good idea for us to kind of cover some of the stuff that we didn't record up until our most previous first stream.
So we've been, like you said, a little over a year and a half, not a year and a half, like a year and a couple months probably. But we only started recording probably in the last 10 sessions or so. So we've got some backlogged like audio data to upload for everyone to listen to. We do have a lot that hopefully we'll have up for everyone soon. But that's still a lot of information no one's going to know about unless we get on and actually tell you about it. So So yeah, this is just going to be a overview of all the things that have happened so far.
Yes, everything that we've had to go through because of our wonderful DM, Justin.
Yeah, our wonderful DM, Justin, and the trauma that he has induced.
Hey, we're getting him back though. Any chance I get, I'm gonna re-roll either one of his rolls or my rolls.
That's our way of getting back at him. It's just being lucky.
Yep. That's why I picked up the lucky feat whenever I got the chance, just to make his day a little bit crazier.
It's all you can really ask for is making his day crazy, and that's one thing I've enjoyed with Molly is having Lucky from day one and just never
being born
failing
lucky.
anything ever. Yeah, hard to roll 2 nat ones twice. I will say that much.
Oh yeah, just probability wise, you're probably never gonna roll 2 nat ones.
Yeah, probably not. At least I really hope not. Okay, it looks like my audio is not 100% there.
Yeah. If anyone's here, just give us a moment as we kind of adjust everything. It took us. We hate to admit it, it's taken us a couple tries to get this to work.
Yeah, it
that's
definitely did take about 1,000,000 tries.
That's just how it rolls when you're.
If you see my desktop and stuff, I only have one screen, so there's only so much that I could do. I apologize.
Yeah, only so much she can hide from us.
There's only so much I can hide. I'm unfortunately not Justin, so I don't have the setup. He is at work, as is many folks today. So that's why it's just me and Kaz here, or me and Meek. And we've really just, out of all the players that are currently there, other than Mist, he or Mikhail, we're really the OG people. The rest kind of came in as we've gone. But yeah, we'll kind of get into that and talk about it a little bit soon. Kaz, I'm trusting you to keep an eye on the chat and stuff in case there's any specific questions, because I can't see it with this one
Yeah, I got it
screen?
open.
Fantastic. All
Yeah,
right.
I have the notes and I have the chat open as well.
Nice.
So do you think we should just hop into it, kind of discuss how everything started?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
Yeah. It looks like well, when you look back on it, the first kind of session was really the make or break of whether or not we'd continue the campaign, like how we all meshed with each other and kind of like how our characters would interact.
True. Yeah, we didn't actually have a session 0 to like get stuff started. We kind of just jumped in with the first session and got it going.
Yeah, there was a bit of discussion between between us in the text chat. You and me actually both figured out we were playing Artificers, and we were like, hey,
Yeah.
like, well, since we're both playing the same class, what if we have like a character backstory like together, like
Yeah,
where we at
and
least knew each other?
that was one thing when we first started that was really surprising, was that Justin was like, "Oh yeah, sure, 2 artificers, that's fine." And then when
Yeah,
we got in, we realized we were both artificer alchemists, so we were the same class and subclass walking into this. Nowadays, Meek has made a class change for Kaz, so he's an armorer now. Is that right?
an armorer artificer. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So we have changed since then, but it was really fun in the beginning to have 2 people with the exact same class using it so differently. So even though it was the same thing, and we definitely got up to a lot of shenanigans,
yeah.
it
Well, we
wasn't
were
it wasn't
able to
bad.
bring our own flavor
Yeah,
to our classes.
we really were. But yeah, so the background that we came up for Molly and Kaz was that Kaz, as a goblin, was not treated very well in general. So he was attempting to get some, I think it was alchemist supplies.
Yes.
Yeah.
In Justin's world, goblins are one of the few races who are just recently allowed to have land and stuff inside of cities. They used to be more tribal, but just recently they're seen as a race that has citizenship.
Right. So they just recently were upgraded to not a pest, basically.
Oh yeah, if you want to say that, probably most people think of it as that as well.
Yeah, so he had been going into a shop to try to find some artificer supplies, and Molly, she falls under like a chaotic good alignment. So even though she would never just steal something on her own, she saw these guys like upping the price a ton for these simple supplies and being really mean to her new goblin friend. So she assisted him in doing a little bit of thievery, and we
Yeah.
stole the supplies and made a quick getaway on Molly's flying broom.
Yeah, and that was one of the nicer things to ever happen to Kha'Zix. So he came up with the okay, you helped Kha'Zix, now Kha'Zix owes you a life debt.
Right, life debts. We haven't done one of those in a while.
Yeah, I've kind of fallen out of life debts, but I want to say he has about 3 or 4 life debts
Something like
to some
that.
people.
I mean, at this point, I think that the life debt thing and like a lot of that behavior was really more goblin Kaz, like feral
Mhm.
goblin Kaz. But as we've
Oh
moved
yeah,
on, he's become yeah.
we'll get into his civilization
Mhm.
from Goblin Kaz. Um,
Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit, but I think he's definitely lost a lot of that. But yeah, so do you let I guess right now let's just go ahead and I guess talk a little bit about the characters
okay,
and their
yeah.
backgrounds a little bit, so we know where we're starting from.
Yeah, for our first group.
Yeah, let's do first group and then we'll introduce the other guys as we get further down.
Okay, yeah. So our first party consisted of Molly Thistle,
Mhm.
Kha'Zix, no last name, and Cedar slash Nicotine, a fairy barbarian.
Right.
A
Yeah, fairy
very
barbarian.
interesting combo.
Yeah, she's really interesting because originally she was hailing from the Feywilds. We never learned a ton about her background before she left the campaign, and she was originally played by Mist, who's playing Mikhail right now. But due to the party dynamic, they'll have left a little bit earlier with that particular character. But they were really interesting. They had this dual personality thing going where Cedar was crazy and Nicotine was more crazy.
Yeah, it was a bit of like both sides of the coin
Of
were
crazy.
very similar. Yeah, just two different types of
Yeah,
crazy.
it was just which one was more likely to commit arson, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Which one
they were
blamed the
fun.
other?
Mhm.
And
And then Braven, of course, our bard.
oh yes, our human quote unquote bard.
Yeah, there was always a
Come up
question
into
to that.
question a little bit later on into the story,
It
but
does.
as far as when we first met him, he was a human.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, he seemed to be a human carrying a bagpipe and following around this destructive little pixie.
Was that really his
Yeah,
instrument? Was it a
it was
bagpipe?
yeah, and his whole thing he would set it on fire and he would like do the fire bagpipes. It was like a whole
Oh
thing.
yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But yeah, so and then Molly of course is the halfling. She's a traveling courier. She'd been traveling all sorts of different countries and different places just after essentially running away from home when she was a teenager. On a flying broom with her robotic cat Jeepers. And then Kha'Zix, I believe you said you're from originally he grew up in an orphanage and then just kind of has been wandering around, right?
Yeah, Kaz grew up in an orphanage over like to the east of the continent, and then migrated his way over towards the capital of Voltaire.
Okay, so you're still in the same country, but you just weren't in the capital.
Yes,
Okay.
he didn't jump ship and sail off to another country. He's still in the same one he was born and raised. Well, not really raised, born in.
Yeah, I mean, raised is a term. Okay.
Raised by the streets.
Yeah, so that's our first little group, and of course our genius DM Justin, who's kind of created this whole thing. So how I actually joined was I saw Justin had made a TikTok, and he had this giant stack of folders and was just like, "Hey, I made this huge world and I need some players to bring it to life." And he just kind of like
Is that
slammed
how
down
you found
stuff.
him?
Yeah, he had a TikTok and he was like, "If somebody's interested, let me know." And I messaged him and I was like, "Hey, I would love to play because I'm looking for a campaign to play in." And that's how I joined. Yeah.
I found him through Discord,
Oh,
through
nice.
D&D Beyond, I believe, the
Oh.
looking for games.
Okay, yeah. I think he got people a lot of different ways, honestly, because
Yeah, just
I know
gathered a mishmash of people.
I brought Braven. He was actually a friend of mine, so I brought him
Mm-hmm.
along with me. We're still friends, but yeah. So I brought him along, and then I'm not sure. I'm not sure about these guys. I think for the most part, it's been just people Justin knows. And then I think with
Ezric?
I think with Ezric, I think it was a similar thing with like the Discord thing, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll have to check with him later on. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so it's been a delight. It's been really great getting to know you
Oh yeah,
guys for sure.
Ezric just messaged me. Yeah, he found Justin through Discord as well.
Discord, very cool. Okay, so yeah, I'm the only weird one on TikTok. That's fine. Whatever.
Hey, yeah, however you did it, yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, it did. What's really funny is that Justin couldn't keep track of who exactly he had agreed to have join, and he ended up messaging this random person on TikTok a bunch, and it wasn't me.
Like,
And
are you
so-
applicant
Yeah.
number 33
I
for
don't
my
even
game?
know. I just remember he messaged me with like a screenshot once, and he went, "Is this you?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "I've been messaging this person. I have no idea who they are." And I'm like, "Oh, great." So that was
Nice.
fun. But yeah, let's crack into it. So let's start with
right.
session 1 of this glorious campaign.
Yeah,
We
where it all
started
started.
out. Yeah, we started out in the capital. Oh, there's
Voltaire.
music. What is happening?
Everything good? I don't hear any music.
Oh, that was weird.
Oh, you got musical ghosts.
I don't know. I just started hearing music all of a sudden. Weird. Okay, yeah. Anyway, I feel like did he start like the? No, he didn't. That was weird. Anyway, yeah, into session 1. We started out in the capital of the country. Is it Voltaire?
Oh yes, the
Yes.
capital of the country that we're in is Voltaire,
Mm-hmm.
and the country that we are in is the Aglar
Oh!
Empire.
That noise was us getting a follower. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Thank you so much. So I'm not familiar with the noise, but thank you. Anyway, sorry. We're in the capital of Voltaire, the capital of the country, which is called Voltaire.
Oh yes.
Yes. And
yeah, from the capital, that's where we all kind of met and everything. It was a huge city, like too big to even begin to explore.
yeah, really just humongous. But as I remember, the campaign actually started with Molly flying over just the crowds. She's not one to
Yeah.
walk or force herself into the tight spaces full of townsfolk. So
It's
she
a
had
bit beneath her.
It's beneath
Everyone
her,
else.
literally beneath her. But
The
yeah,
ground
she
is
was
beneath her.
she was on her flying broom on her way to make a delivery, and she looked down into the crowd and happened to spot her little green friend and called out to him. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he thought she was God for a moment.
Oh, God?
Yeah, pretty
Oh.
much just like that.
Oh, it's just Mal.
Just Molly. Yeah, so she noticed him there and flew down to his level, as one would say,
Yeah.
to say
Lowered
hello.
herself down to him.
Yeah, and said hi. And Kaz why was Kaz in town?
Kaz, after some circumstances that transpired with his previous employer, a former a criminal, Kha'Zix was looking for his friend that he had back in the gang, a friend named Eli, and they had both kind of run off after Kaz had maybe purposefully set fire to a building.
Maybe on
So
purpose?
yeah, but like chemicals can do stuff that we don't expect. So
That's true. They can. But yeah, so you had been looking, or Kaz had been looking for his friend Eli, and Molly agreed to help look for him. So she scooped him up onto Pitter Patter, which is the name of her flying broom. And they went flying around a little bit to see if they could spot him.
unfortunately, like looking for a needle in a haystack that's the size of a city, there wasn't really any way for Kha'Zix to find him.
Yeah. I think in this situation, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, in which there is no needle. I don't think he was even
Yeah.
there.
And the needle could be moving as well.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely, they looked around for a little while, but Molly had a delivery to finish, so she
Yeah.
dropped Kaz off at a nearby inn, and said, "You know what? I'll be right back. Stay here, and we'll keep looking. I just have to finish this delivery." So she took off and left Meek at the inn for a little bit.
Oh yeah, and at the end, that's when the party started to come together.
Mhm.
Kha'Zix met Braven, who was playing inside the tavern to earn some coin, along with his traveling companion Cedar, who was quote unquote providing backup
She's the muscle.
instruments. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she played the cowbell.
Oh yeah, the most musical instrument,
Yeah, the
the
most musical
cowbell.
instrument. But originally, I think she had seen Molly drop Kaz off and had attempted to follow her. But Molly is able to
A quick
fly
one.
pretty high up, so she kind of took off. Actually, I think she followed her all the way to the hotel where Molly was delivering her items, but she couldn't get past
Yeah.
security.
Couldn't get past the door.
Yeah,
Didn't have the right uh password or
exactly.
whatever.
So yeah, so Molly went ahead and left Kaz. Kaz made an acquaintance with Braven, and then later met Cedar as they were waiting there. And Molly continued off to deliver this package. So she, as a courier, has a lot of regulars. So she delivered a package to one of her regulars. I think his name was like Ichon or Icon or something like that.
Yeah, it's some fancy name.
Yeah, some fancy name. But she went ahead and delivered that, did all the paperwork to pick up a new package, some letters to deliver to a Mr. S in Watergate, signed over some other things. And, he had really made a point to be like, hey, you might need some hired muscle for this one. So he gave her
Yeah.
500 gold pieces to hire some muscle. So she took her funds and left to go find Kaz again, and there Kaz introduced her to the rest of the group that we had going on.
hmm And we kind of discussed a bit of payment for this travel and delivery.
Yeah, Molly had asked them if they wouldn't mind traveling with them as some some backup, I guess, and they said,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we'll do it for
Bodyguard.
room and board." And Molly quietly hid the 500 gold piece. It's like, yeah, I'll pay for that. That's fine.
Yeah. That's a great deal. A
It's a
bargain.
great deal. Everybody nowadays wonders how Molly got so much money. Like once we met up with the rest of the group, and I'm like, it's because she's like rude, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she agreed to just pay for their food and their hotel rooms and the like, and they agreed to travel together. And while we're at the end, we actually ended up getting into some pretty fun shenanigans. I believe Cedar got into an arm wrestling match with a gnome.
A gnome, which was actually similar to size in Cedar. They're both small creatures.
It was one Cedar because she had that ability to turn bigger
from tiny to small.
Yeah, so she was like I think 2 feet tall at the time.
Yeah, so they were both similar in height once
Mhm.
Cedar transformed. Was a nasty fellow.
Yeah.
Let's just say that about him.
Yeah, he was using a magic necklace to cheat, which I don't remember how exactly it happened, but I believe we ended up stealing it. And then a talking dog named Champ in the inn scolded us and told us to give it back, so we did because
So
you can't
you
make the
can't-
dog disappointed in you. You just
yeah,
can't.
like when he gives you those eyes, it's like, all right,
Mhm.
you got me.
He's just the greatest boy.
Yeah, so
we also met, I believe, it was a gold dragon that was in human form that told us some stories of their travels.
yeah, we met a polymorphed or transformed gold dragon
it's
who
just
was
a
running the
human
inn.
form, but yeah, I don't think she was like polymorphed or anything. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That
she
was
told us
a
that
form.
she just really loved the stories of adventurers and stuff, and her adventuring days were behind her, but she just really enjoyed hearing the stories, so she started an inn for adventurers. And yeah, so we met her, and that was who Champ was hanging out with, and yeah, so we got our little band of misfits together, and
Yeah.
set off on the road.
Yeah, everything was going peachy clean, if that's a term.
Sure, peachy clean. I think
yeah, peachy clean.
yeah, we got out of the town without any sort of issues. I believe Molly did So as artificers, Molly and Kaz both have the ability to make a random potion once a day, and we both walked out of that with some different mechanics that have been homebrewed by our DM. So
Glorious DM.
our glorious DM. So of course we had a random potion a day, which normally you would roll that against something, and there'd be like 6 different options or something. But he came up with this huge big sheet of the different effects that the daily potion could make. And he
Yeah,
would roll
a
that.
wild magic table of potions.
Basically, yeah. So we have all these crazy potions that could happen, and I think the first one that I ever used, because Molly is not against experimenting on her friends, as long as they agree to drink something, she will
Yeah,
absolutely feed them whatever. Um,
all about consent.
all about consent. But yeah, she mixed it up and gave it to Cedar, who was always super excited to drink her potions, which she was happy about. And I believe I turned Cedar into an octopus for like an hour.
Yeah, they just threw her into a puddle
Yeah,
and
we
was
just
like,
found a
"Well,
pond.
we'll see what happens until
Yeah,
that wears off."
she got better.
She got better.
Mhm.
Don't worry, everyone. She got better.
And then yeah, so the fun thing with those potions is that depending on what you roll, so Justin actually rolls and then he just tells us what the color is. So he's the only one who knows like what it is. And depending on how you roll, there's certain things that he'll roll on that makes a potion permanent, which we'll probably get into later. But yeah, so on occasion it could go very badly.
Yeah,
But yeah, and
most
part of
definitely.
our little deal there was that Kaz he had the ability to make these potions as well, but Molly was a little bit more meticulous, so she had the ability to memorize potions in the event that she found one she liked.
Yeah, for
So
Kaz, it was what can I cook up by throwing random stuff into a bottle and shaking it.
like worms and dead bits
Dirt.
and dirt and I don't even want to know.
Hey,
Probably
if it
just
works, it works.
all sorts of awful things.
Just don't worry about the taste.
Just don't, yeah. Just plug your nose when you drink it. But yeah, so we set out on our first little bit of this journey, turned somebody into an octopus. Just kind of traveled for a bit, and then I think we
I
stopped.
snacked on a dead bird.
You
but
did. You found
that's
like a
That's not here or
rotting
there.
dead bird and ate it. And at that point, we actually determined that Kaz is like a possum. He's immune to rabies, but does have rabies. So it doesn't affect him, but he is a carrier of rabies. So if you get bit by him, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, he hasn't bitten anyone. I don't think at all yet.
I mean, you should keep it in mind, just in case we're in a pinch.
Oh yeah, just dire straight bite someone, give them
Yeah,
rabies.
I mean, gotta do what you gotta do. But yeah, so I think that's when we stopped for our first long rest. Split it up into the watches and all of that, and then found in the middle of the night, Kaz got kidnapped. Is that right? Is that
Well,
right, Tommy?
Kaz was awake on watch when a crossbow bolt flew out at him, and that's when a group of ne'er-do-wells emerged from the shrubbery to attack the party. At first, it was like, oh, they're here to mug us, but then when one of them specifically went for Kaz and stuffed him into a bag, that's when it clicked. Like, oh, they're here for me.
Yeah. I think you did manage to wake Braven up, though, right?
Yeah. As soon as the attack happened, like Kha'Zix yelled out and went off to the side. And luckily, throughout the scuffle, Kha'Zix was able to cut his way out of the bag and try to run back towards the group. And
it's just so endlessly funny to me that he got bagged, like just like
oh yeah,
slung over the
was
shoulder.
it was hilarious at the time when Kha'Zix is forcibly shoved into a bag.
I mean, he's a goblin, so he's about 3 feet tall. Molly's just a little bit
Yeah,
shorter
exactly
than him.
3 feet.
Yeah, so Molly is definitely standing as the shortest person in the party by like a little bit, but yeah, he'd be small enough to get into a bag. You cut your way out. We were able to find him, and did we kill the captors? Did they get away?
Yeah,
I don't
we
remember.
got rid of all of
We
them.
got rid of them. Okay. And I believe on them, we had actually found a note. So during the events of the freaking contest previously with the arm wrestling.
Yeah, the arm wrestling
Yeah,
contest with Palm
I
Foot.
think you did something particularly to piss off the gnome, and he
Yeah, I
left.
kind of gave him one of my random potions.
Oh, is that what you
And
did?
yeah, it made him have photosynthesis skin,
Ah,
and he couldn't
cool.
eat or drink anything for a couple hours.
Right, he had his energy from the sun and water. Yeah, that was actually a good one. But yeah, he had left a note that said the goblin has left the city, last seen by the pond. Follow them until they rest. Bring him to me from Palmfoot. I'm sorry, I have it written down. That's like the last note I ever took for the campaign
Yeah,
because after that point I realized you would take notes and stopped.
yeah, and
So
I've done a all right job at it, not a
yeah,
great
pretty good. I
job.
probably should help more, but yeah. But yeah, so he tried to kidnap you, and you got away. So that was great for Kaz. And after that point, Molly actually we tied a bell around his ankle so we could keep track of him.
Yeah, which isn't demeaning at all.
I mean, you did consent to it. I will say that
Yeah,
much. There was
yeah,
consent involved. But yeah, for like a good portion of the campaign, you did jingle when you walked.
yeah, little jingly goblin boy.
Little jingly goblin boy. But yeah, so we spent the rest of our rest and headed on back out. And I believe the only other thing that happened on the way was we actually passed a burning cart and met a boy named Valent, I believe.
Yes, we met Valent, who was a lost boy in the woods.
I don't think he was lost. Like, he knew where he was, but he definitely seemed to be an orphan. But Valent was a really interesting character. He had all of these crazy abilities, like he could talk to animals at will, and was able to sort of shape the forest around him, and had a lot of illusion magic. Even though, for all intents and purposes, he did seem like a child.
Yeah, he seemed like a child up until we went to his house and discovered were there people coming for him or were they for us?
They were for
I think
us. Yeah,
yeah, it was
they
for
were
us.
after Molly's letters that she was
Oh
delivering.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
after you.
Mhm. So we had spent a few hours with him, just kind of hanging out. We got a bite to eat. Explored his magic house. So what he had done is there was like
His
a
treehouse.
tree, yeah, and then he like magicked a door, and it was like a TARDIS, very bigger on the inside. And the windows outside looked onto like different places that definitely was not the forest around this tree, and it was very cool. And I think he ended up giving Molly a couple of really fancy potions that I think to this day she hasn't used. She's hoarding potions.
Yeah,
But
just
yeah,
what you do.
so after a few hours, they were interrupted by I think it was like 3 or 4 guards that
It was main guy, muscle, archer, wizard. So I
okay,
think it was like 4 or 5.
nice, yeah. And then if I remember correctly, I think Cedar went out first and got shot.
Yeah, she did get hit with an arrow, and
Yeah,
then that's when we all proceeded to
roll for initiative.
yeah, get out there and do our best.
Yeah,
Which
so Molly's primary weapon is a pistol, that she made. So she shot some people in the head, and what was Kaz using at that time before he got his punchy punch stuff going?
at that point, Kaz was using a crossbow
Okay.
with a repeating shot.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, love repeating shot. Great, great,
Yeah, it's a
great
great weapon
infusion.
infusion.
hmm
We were so similar
We
back
were so
then.
similar. It was so odd, wasn't it? Like I never even.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did it so differently though that I don't think it ever really clashed too badly. But
Yeah,
yeah.
the classes didn't matter as much as like our character.
Yeah, and like the way that we played them for sure. But yeah, so we killed the guys trying to get the package and
Yeah, it
said
was a hard
goodbye to
fight.
Valiant. It was, yeah. If I remember correctly, I think Molly got really, really low on her HP, and then
Yeah,
did it
Braven went down. You were about to go down.
right. Yeah, and if I remember
And
correctly,
then
Braven was saved by Valiant, or he might have died.
yes, Kha'Zix did call out for Valiant, and he
Mhm.
showed up and started blasting. Lucky that he did, because if not, Justin said he would have just killed us then and there.
Yeah, that would have been bad. But yeah, so that was almost the end of a very short campaign. But we
Yeah,
managed
would have
to,
rolled up some new characters.
yeah, we managed to survive that one. And just in interest of this very magical kid with, I think if I remember correctly, he had some odd ties to the gods that we weren't really sure what was going on. But we said
Yeah, I
goodbye to
remember
him.
calling him Angel Boy.
Angel Boy, yeah, I think a lot of is weird, but that was the first child Molly attempted to adopt. Unfortunately, she was not allowed to keep that one, but it's okay. She'll get hers.
Oh yeah, just wait another,
Couple,
what
yeah,
was it, like
few weeks, something like
10
that.
sessions? I don't
Something
know.
like that, yeah. But yeah, so they say goodbye to Valiant and head back down, and I don't think there's anything else that happened to the point where we
Yeah, not until
well
we got to Watergate.
yeah, I do remember. At that point, Braven was very interested in the contents of the letters and why they would cause so much like effort to get them because it's just a letter,
Oh
and
yeah, he became very suspicious of you.
yeah, he got real suspicious, and I think Molly, in her
Thought you were sus.
professionalism, told him to fuck off in more words than that. But she was very unkind in her way of telling him not to touch any of her letters, and I believe she invited him. She was like, "Hey, like, this is my job. I hired you to be a guard. If you don't want to be a guard, you're welcome to leave, but you can't interfere with my job." Like, I think she did something like that, and yeah,
Yeah, lay down the law.
uh-huh. And then they continued on to Watergate, and we arrived to our first town outside of the capital.
hmm Yeah, we finally arrived at Watergate. And Watergate is this huge, like, bustling city that has a lot of magical advancements. I believe Justin said there was people also flying around on
Yeah, they have like
different
flying
contraptions
vehicles,
and
I
stuff.
think. Not so much brooms, but I think they have like vehicle type things that do fly.
And the walls were made out of water.
Right, it was like a 50-foot just like whole big thing of water all the way around the city, right? That like split to let people in.
Yes.
It always just makes me think of that scene in The Incredibles where they go through the waterfall and it just goes like that.
Oh yeah. Relatable.
hmm
So yeah, we walked into Watergate, kind of looked at the map, and kind of saw all the different places we could check out. And eventually we found a room, and we're like, all right, tomorrow let's go deliver that package.
Yep, so we
And
found a room and then I think so we spent the night and then the following day on according to Braven, this was a very important meeting and we should dress the part. So Molly went and dropped like 30 gold on like this fancy
oh yeah, on
pantsuit.
some new duds.
Yeah, got some new
And we were
duds.
just walking in there how we were already dressed. We're like, all
Mhm.
right, well, we'll go as normal.
Yeah, so Molly was like decked out with this like floppy hat and this like great pantsuit and stuff, and then you guys all just still looked like adventurers. It
It
didn't make a lot of
just looked like
sense,
bums. It looked like bums.
her hired brigands, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
Hired men.
so they do that and Kaz of course goes with her and claps and gives her advice on what to pick.
It's like, oh, that's some nice clothes.
Heck yeah. And yeah, and then they head over to the hotel. If I remember correctly, it was very difficult for us to actually get like
Oh yeah, it was a pain just to see him. It was like,
yeah.
hey, we're here to see him,
Like
and
everyone
they were
acted
like,
like he
huh,
didn't
who?
exist.
Like, huh?
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, well, we'll wait here, I guess. And Maul was a bit bummed out. She was like, why am I even here? Like, well, why did they send me here? And Kaz tried to cheer her up. It's like,
Right.
hey, look at this. And he drank a potion, and it permanently made him colorblind.
Yeah, look at that. Like, cheer up.
Here, look at this. Ah!
Yeah, so Kaz at that point was colorblind for a
Yeah.
while. He used to joke
For-
that he lost all of his vision, and that
Yeah, he's like, Kha'Zix is like, I'm blind, or Kha'Zix is blind. But it was only just his sense of color,
yeah,
his sight.
yeah, that was the thing. Oopsies. So that was the first permanent potion that we had happen in the campaign.
Oh yeah. Hopefully we don't have one of those again.
I mean, I think we had 2 total so far. I think the percentage of
mine-
the likelihood goes down without us both making a random potion a day, though, for sure.
Yeah. So now it's just you, and it's a slim chance.
Yeah. But yeah, so you were blind, and then Braven disappeared for a while, and then came back down, and then we got our audience.
Oh yeah, he was a different person when he came down.
At this time, I'm pretty sure he was probably some sort of like maybe a changeling, or maybe
I think he was
had,
a changeling. Yes.
Yeah, because he was swapping stuff around a lot and doing some weird shit. But yeah, so he did all sorts of odd shenanigans, but we did end up seeing Mr. S, and Molly was able to complete her delivery, and
Mhm.
yeah,
he was an intimidating fellow.
He was.
Like,
Do you remember? Like, was he just a human? I don't actually remember.
I
so long
believe
ago.
he was just a human.
Yeah, and he
I
had,
don't
like, a whole
remember
bunch
any
of
other
guards.
descriptive features besides
Mhm.
him being kind of intimidating, and he did have a bartender up on
Right.
his suite. But we'll get to him later.
Yeah, so you had a bartender, and then there was just a couple like generic guard A, generic guard B, like just hanging around. I think you had a couch that Cedar like looked for coins in.
Oh yeah, it was
Like,
a bit of tomfoolery in front of this very powerful crime lord.
yeah, so our understanding of it after the fact is that this Mr. S fellow is actually like the crime lord of the country. So we were not in a very very good position for sure.
Oh yes, definitely.
Not the place to do shenanigans.
Yeah, but hey,
or the place to do shenanigans, you know.
Yeah, envelope was handed over, and we're like,
Yeah.
all right,
Her stack
dust
of
our
letters.
hands off.
Mm-hmm. So she made her delivery, got her signatures, got paid,
Got her money. Yeah.
and then did a good old fashioned exit stage left, and they went out. I think on our way out, Braven was very insistent that we leave town.
Yeah, he was like, we just did something kind of bad. We should leave. And we're like,
Mhm.
what? Like, but I want to go shopping.
Right. So I think you and Cedar went into a store and did some shopping, while
Yeah.
Braven and Molly yelled at each other in the street.
Yeah, it was a bit of like mom and dad are fighting. Like,
Yeah.
let's go into the toy store
Something like that.
while they finish that. And we actually got two important items that will
Right. You
come
guys
into
got
play
those
later.
really fancy magic items, right?
The first item was a deck of cards.
We got a deck of some things. It was like
a deck of some
three?
things.
A deck of 5?
TM. I think it was like 6. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. It was like a reduced number deck of many things, but I think
it
it
was
only
like
had
5.
5 cards because her, and then did you give 3 of them away? Do you remember, or was it 2?
I think I gave 2.
2? Okay, then I think it might have only been
5?
4. Because there was the first one with the portal, and then no, that was 5. The second one was the statue. The third one was the one you pulled, and then you gave the last 2 away. So yeah, it was 5 cards. So Yeah, it's a deck of some things, and then what else did we get? The beans?
We got a bag of magical beans that, when thrown, cause an effect to happen.
A random effect. And then was there any other, or was it just those two?
I also had the Blade of Songs,
Ah,
which
right.
is a dagger that, when you stab into someone, you can activate the dagger, and they have to make a saving throw or sing for a minute.
Right. They have to then belt out their finest melody.
Yeah, they have to.
Which is something Kaz still carries to this day. But I think
Yep.
you've only used it a number of times, right?
I've used it as a regular dagger before.
Okay. I think the
But
first
the
test
effect
you
I've only
stabbed
used
Braven with it, I believe.
with his consent.
Yes, consent is very important, kids. Consent is very important.
Yeah, don't stab people without their consent.
Mhm. Right. So I believe while you guys were in there shopping, Braven was revealing to Molly that he was kind of in on this whole thing, and he knew that the contents of the letters that Molly was carrying was actually the schedule of the Empress and Emperor of the country, in order to help facilitate an assassination attempt. So Molly was very concerned that she had just delivered something of such a nature. But it is the way with couriers, you deliver stuff and then the job is done.
Oh yeah. And then we were like, all right, let's leave. Let's go somewhere else.
hmm So at that point, we just kind of left town just to make sure we weren't in town. We didn't really have a specific destination, but we actually walked back towards where Valent had teleported us. So when we left Valent before we got to Watergate, he had actually teleported us out, and he had put us a little bit outside of Watergate, like past the city. So we had to walk like backwards to get to it, and then we just kind of followed our steps back and left out the same way again.
Um, and then as we were traveling, Cedar got a bit curious as to what the cards and the beans entailed. So along with Kha'Zix, she drew one of the cards that opened up a little rift in the sky.
A large rift in the sky. It was quite alarming for the group, but from the rift we did see like this giant metal contraption zip out of it and crash into the woods nearby. So we
So
went
we're like,
to
well,
investigate.
this is our problem now.
Yeah, oopsies. Dang it, Cedar.
Classic Cedar.
Yeah, so we went to investigate, and Kaz, what did we find when we got there?
We had found, we didn't know this in character, but out of character, we had found a crashed airplane, set from kind of the time when airplanes were, kind of had like the open cockpit and everything. It was a single person airplane, and stepping out of it was a female pilot who was brandishing a shotgun, and kind of putting it together. I was like, oh, is that Amelia Earhart? And much to Justin's surprise, I guessed it in one go.
Yeah.
And
So we met Amelia Earhart for a minute. She was not a fan of us.
Amelia Earhart is canon to our game.
She is canon. We know where she went.
Yeah.
We solved it, folks.
Well,
for
unfortunately,
a minute anyway.
Yeah, we weren't really able to understand her, because Common and English are two kind of separate things.
Very different things, yeah.
But luckily, for Kha'Zix's starting magic item, he chose the Helmet of Comprehend Languages. So at least he was able to understand what she was saying. She was a very nice lady. Once she got over the fear of crashing into a parallel universe.
Yeah, I think you gave her the helm so she could like see us talking.
Yeah, I lended the helmet to her, and she was able to actually understand us at that point, and we got along all right.
Yeah, I mean, as much as you can with I mean, I imagine going from Earth in Amelia Earhart's time to looking at a goblin and a halfling and a fairy, probably an alarming day for her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but we were able to
Um,
convince her that where we were probably wasn't very safe because a lot of people probably saw that rip in the sky, and so she left with the strangers to a secondary location.
yeah, never do that,
Never
folks.
do that, kids. Never do that. But yeah, so we went and made camp a few miles away and tried to get some rest in. But I think we
Yeah.
ended up being pursued by some sort of scary creatures, right?
Um,
Like we ran.
scary, scary creatures before we found out it was actually Cedar's family, or
Okay.
one of Cedar's family members.
Okay, cool. I thought they
She
were different. I thought the scary creatures were one thing and then Cedar's family was a separate thing.
I think it was we were just being pursued by dark figures that we couldn't see, and that we were just like, oh shoot, we gotta book it.
Gotta book it, yeah. I think at that time, I don't remember if it was a bean or a card, but she did do another one, and we ended up with a statue that yelled at her very rude things for while we ran away from it. I don't.
Yeah, it just insulted her as we were leaving.
Mhm.
And also, as we were running, Kaz had found a coin that was gripped in a skeletal hand in the ground, and saying like, "Ooh, free money." Kaz picked up the coin, which then sunk into his hand and disappeared. And it's like, oh well, that's probably not normal.
Yeah, probably not. I
That
didn't know
that
you did
started.
that while we were running.
It was like when we stopped for a
Oh, when we
second.
stopped. Okay, cool.
Yeah, when we were stopped to like gather ourselves,
Mhm.
he picked up the coin,
And that's how you
and
received
that's
your
what's
lucky feet, right?
yeah, that's how I ruled he picked up his lucky feat.
Mhm.
Because at that point we had reached level 4,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm going lucky, baby. Like you can't stop me
Yeah.
unless you really don't want me to, Justin. Then I won't do it because I respect you.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know that so you took the feat. I think Molly took the points, and that's how she got her intelligence to 20 so quickly.
Oh yeah, you went straight and finished off
Right, yeah.
your your SI, and I went for a feat because I
Mhm.
was already at 18 intelligence. So I was like, I can either max it now or I can max it later.
Yeah, we'll be getting another opportunity soon, though, aren't we? Like level 7 or something like
We're
that?
level 8,
Level
so
8.
next level will be 9, and I think we get it at like 10 or 11 for artificers. I can't
Something like
remember.
that. But yeah, we'll be getting another one hopefully soon.
I'm gonna get another
Um,
feat.
are you really? I think.
Well, what else is there for me to increase?
I mean,
My
that's fair.
dex is at 18, I believe,
You can go
and my
con and get some
intelligence
extra
is at
HP.
20. Yeah, I could bump up my con.
HPs. But yeah,
Uh,
I love a good feat. But yeah, so you did that. We and then when we stopped to rest again, we just met some more Fae.
yeah, we had
Um,
met
I believe it
our
was
pursuers.
yeah, it was Cedar's sister.
I
Um,
believe so. Yeah,
yeah, it was
I
her
believe it was a lot of
sister.
sister dynamic
Yeah. So they came to go and get Cedar because apparently she had broken some laws and was
in the
on the
Feywild.
run. Yeah, so she had to go atone for her crimes, and at that point Braven had decided to also
Lawyer for
leave.
her.
Yeah, to attempt to maybe give her some support. So he exited with her and they are currently in the Feywilds doing God knows what. We probably should have asked about them while we were there, but we didn't.
Hey,
Oops.
like,
We had a lot going
we
on.
if it's really important, we'll find out.
Yeah. But yeah, so
Hopefully,
they
she
they
wasn't
left.
executed or something.
Oh, that'd be so bad.
That'd be sad.
I think I doubt it. I doubt it. I think she was probably just like put in prison or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I believe Cedar gave Molly her cowbell, and then Braven gave Molly half of the platinum he had from doing a job, and which I think
And
that had to do with Mr. S.
yeah,
And then
that was his Mr. S money, and Kazakh's got the random items, the cards,
yes, you got
and the
beans and the
beans
cards. Yeah.
from Cedar as well.
And then we
It was a sad farewell. There was
there was
some
some
near tears.
It was sad, but
But
I think as of now the party's great as it is right now. So I think
yeah,
that
I feel like
it's fine.
we've kind of been forged into a great party now.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, so we lost 2 people, and then it was just Molly and Kaz, 2 itty bitty folks in the woods all by them lonesomes.
Like, all right,
Um,
let's get the heck out of here.
I think they finished a long rest, and then they were like, "All right, let's go." And
All right, let's go.
yeah, and then they set out. Oh, when they were leaving, Cedar did tell them that they're gonna need some help moving forward, and that she
Oh
has a
yeah,
friend named Mikhail in Kiz. She told us to go find him, and that's kind of where our adventure started again, where we were like, okay, let's go to Kiz and
yeah.
see about this, I guess.
Let's go find a new party.
Right. So so we
Mhm.
went to Giza. I think we only stopped there for like a night and did a little bit of shopping, and then went
Yeah.
to Kiz.
Kazakh's had bought a shield, I believe,
Mhm.
and that's pretty much the main thing that happened there. He just bought a
Yeah,
shield,
and then
and
we
we
had
stayed
met
for
the
a night.
cute couple at the inn.
Oh yeah, there was a cute
It was a halfling and
furbolg
a furbolg.
and halfling. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was
They
adorable. The
were
old
both
ladies.
wonderful women. They were very, very sweet. But it was very sad because I guess furbolgs live longer lives than halflings, and so it was very sad because you could
Mhm.
tell that the halfling was getting older and the furbolg had a
Yeah.
while left, and it was sad. But yeah, so we
Mhm.
said hello to them, made a couple friends, and then went to Kiz.
Yep. And after searching around, eventually we discovered a tavern where our quarry, Mikhail, was most likely hanging out.
And I think on the way into town, I think one of the first things I did was I stopped. Was that where the sea hag was? Was in Kiz, or was that in Giza?
Uh, that was in Kiz.
Kiz.
After
Okay.
we gathered everyone, we went shopping.
Very nice. Of course we did. But of course we did. We have so many shopping episodes. It's ridiculous.
Like, hey, when you got money, you got to spend it. We can't just be carrying it
I mean,
around.
you're not wrong. I believe in part of all of this shenanigans, Molly was actually working on the designs for a shotgun. So
Oh
she
yeah,
also found some time to have some blacksmiths help her work on that at some point in all of this.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when we went to the tavern, we met our new party members.
Right.
We
I think
met.
we went in to get a drink, and then we heard them talking about werewolves and decided to ask about it.
We met Clara, I believe she was a full elf.
She was an ASMR.
Oh yeah, she was an Asimar with like elven features.
Right. Yes.
And we met Ezric, the human ranger, with his companion Odin,
Good boy, Odin.
a wolf.
At this point, I think in the story it was established that Molly has an animal allergy, and so now
Yeah,
every time I'm in an
you
animal situation,
unfortunately you bargained for an animal allergy
did
with
I
Justin.
bargain? I don't think I got anything out of it. I really don't. But yeah, I made a joke, I think, and then he rolled with it like a sadist. And so yeah, now every time we're like by anything fuzzy, Molly has to roll a con save, and it's awful.
Yeah, that's why her cat is made out of metal.
Yeah, she wasn't allowed to have one growing up, so she made one. But yeah, so we met. It was those two, and then of course the tattooed tiefling Mikhail.
Yes, the tattooed tiefling. He also has goat legs.
Mhm.
that I
And he's a
always forget
tiefling.
about. Yeah, I always forget that it's hard to tell him apart from a satyr, except that his horns are probably like more upwards, and a satyr's like twist, I believe.
Well, I think the like usually, well, he's like wearing pants and stuff. I think the goat legs are only like from like half down as opposed to his
Like,
whole legs. Because
oh, okay.
tieflings, they usually have like hooves. Sometimes I think it just depends on the tiefling, but he's
Oh yeah,
got
we'll
the
have to check with
hooves.
them again later.
But yeah, I don't know. But
Like, what's
yeah,
down
so
there?
story wise, Ezric he's a traveling ranger with a vendetta against werewolves. His family had been in a situation when he was a little kid where a bunch of werewolves basically wiped out his clan. And so he spends his time hunting werewolves. And I
Like,
guess
hey,
Clara was helping him. I don't remember much of Clara's backstory. I know she was a cleric with
she was a cleric of the sun,
the sun.
of the
Yeah, she was a
sun
cleric of
god.
the sun god, and I think she had been traveling around helping people, and then
Yeah,
kind of
just
ran
regular
into the
cleric
group.
stuff.
Yeah, just doing cleric stuff, and then you know what? Mikhail is really just a mystery. He's so odd.
Yeah, he's kind of the like, oh, like what is your deal?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like you
like
you can never get his deal. Like you
yeah,
never know
you
what he's
never
gonna
know.
do.
The moment you think you haven't figured out, he does something, and then you're just like, "What? I don't. Excuse
It's
me."
like, okay, well, I guess we'll deal with
Absolutely.
this now.
Very confusing, but he's a lot of fun.
Oh
Even
yeah,
even though he causes so many problems.
yeah. Mhm,
He's
mhm.
good, good guy, good guy. But yeah, he's kind of the comic relief, I think, of the party at this
Uh,
point. He makes all the good
yeah. At
jokes.
that point, like he gets into so much trouble where you have it's hard not to laugh.
Yeah, anytime something is going down that's like really serious, he's got a joke to pull or a person to mess with or something. So he really helps keep it light, you know?
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so they meet the party, and these guys are like, oh, wait, there's a rumor of some werewolves, getting like hurting people and doing shenanigans in the woods near here, and Molly and Kaz are like, well, as long as they're hurting people, we'll help out.
Yeah,
Since yeah,
like Kha'Zix doesn't have any problems with taking care of werewolves. Like,
yeah,
sure,
I mean,
let's get
Molly,
rid of
as
them.
long as they're being mean to people, Molly's okay with it. So
Hmm.
yeah, so they spend some time shopping. Molly, during the travels, had discovered a potion, which I think Justin regrets giving me. That well, he's made me go through so many hoops to find the ingredients for it, but essentially,
Yeah.
this potion, once you drink it, will let you answer any 5 questions about whatever you want. You can just get the answers to 5 questions. But basically, it's phrased as knowing everything for 5 minutes, but he had to dumb it down a little bit for me. So 5 questions. Um, so we met a sea hag. Do you remember her
Yeah.
name? I don't.
It was something
It was
sea
something
related.
hag like. I don't know.
I
Um,
can it's Sela, pretty
Sela.
much. It's
There you
yeah, it's
go.
Sela.
Sela the sea hag. But yeah, so Molly was like, yeah, I'm looking for these mushrooms, and this lady's like, oh, well, you know what, I can find those, but I have to send out an expedition. They're very rare. Go ahead and pay me and give me your name, and we'll go ahead and get it done. So Molly paid her and gave her her name and said, oh, my name's Molly Thistle for the order. There we go, and then walked away. Unbeknownst to her, though, she had accidentally given a Fae her name, so nobody knew her name from that point forward. Everybody thought her name was her middle name, which she didn't give her. So for several sessions after this, Molly was referred to as Molly, which is Molly Molly Thistle. So she was Molly and was very confused about it for like days.
It's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was very confusing.
All right. And then
Yeah. Did we do any other shopping?
we did stop by a magic shop, and
Oh, right.
there was a very pretty drow lady who was manning the shop. Kha'Zix did think she was very attractive, but unfortunately she was married.
Oh, too bad.
And
Didn't some
Kha'Zix
people get kicked
respects
out of that
marriage
show?
contracts. Did we get anything out?
No, did we get kicked out? I think like
They got kicked out.
yeah,
Kha'Zix left.
Kha'Zix left
He bought
politely.
something. He bought a amulet of mind reading, or it's like
Okay,
a
but like
detect thoughts. Yeah.
Mikhail and Ez got kicked out. Like they got evicted
Mhm.
from the property, basically.
Yeah, they
I don't
were
remember why.
a bit too aggressive
Fair enough.
in their haggling.
Yeah. Yeah, so at that point, we did the rest for shopping and we left town to go hunt down some werewolves.
hmm
We found them
let
fairly
us.
easily. It only took us a couple hours, I think.
Yeah, it looks like they did a sloppy job of covering their tracks if they tried.
Mm-hmm.
A bloody camp led us deeper into the woods until eventually we discovered a bunch of werewolves capturing or
She was already
escort.
captured. She was tied up.
Yeah. They had captured a water genasi, a female water genasi, and we were like, well, let's get into action. And unfortunately, this was the first combat for the rest of our group, besides Kha'Zix and Maul. And Ezric, our dear Ezric, was dropped in the first round by
dropped
an
immediately.
assassin's dagger.
Yeah, nat 20 plus like poison damage, I think it was, and he just dropped like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
So he spent
luckily,
the first bit unconscious.
luckily, Kha'Zix was able to get him up and back into the fight, but fighting werewolves is no joke.
No, not so much. They can take a lot of damage for sure.
I can see why he doesn't like
get
them.
Bit.
They're a pain in the ass to kill.
I mean, they are a pain, but I think it depends on the werewolf. Molly knows some nice werewolves. But yeah, so they took down these werewolves and saved this water genasi who said she was on a diplomatic meeting to T-Town, which was a town a little bit north from where they were, like northwest, I think. And they agreed to let her travel with them for a little bit so that she could be safe. And they started walking again.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
And then as we were kind of getting ready to leave, that's when someone showed up. It was Jebediah, right?
Yeah. So Jebediah, at first we weren't really sure what was going on with him, but on the walk, he had invited us back to, he was like, oh, my home is nearby. Walk with me. We'll get you a place to stay for the evening where it's safe. And we were like, oh, okay, cool. And then as we were walking, I believe he revealed that he was a vampire. On the way. And yeah, we discovered that he was part of a big old town of vampires.
Yeah,
And,
secret vampire city.
Yeah, secret vampire city. They had some sort of magic, a magic artifact that made it so the town was cloaked in darkness 24/7. And they had a bunch of vampires and their mortal families, and some people who just wanted to live there, I guess, that were all willing donors, so they weren't like eating people on the side. It was just this like little friendly village of vampires and other things.
There was a symbiotic relationship between the citizens who weren't vampires and the citizens who were.
Yeah, it was they had a good little thing going. And Jebediah had a gun that Molly was very interested in, so she took some time to study his gun, and he gave her a bullet, which was neat for her. So canonically in this world, there is one country that has guns, and it's pretty far away from where we're at. So most people that see Molly have never seen a gun before, and she just pulls it out and shoots him in the face. But in this other country,
that's her greeting.
Yeah, that's her greeting. Hello. Yeah. But yeah, so she is the only one that really has one around here, and there is a country that does have them, but they're highly militarized and hate magic. So you got to be careful over there. Molly passed it in her travels, and that's where she learned some of the concepts to make her own little gun invention. But yeah, so she learned a little bit about that, and then I think we just kind of hung out for a night.
Yeah, and then kind of wasn't it like the next morning? That's when everything was going crazy.
Yeah,
The
I think
sky
we
had
were
like
out for
split
a bit.
open.
Yeah, like the morning was fine, and then we had left the inn to go like find Jeb or something like that, and then
Hmm.
like on the walk, things started going crazy.
Yeah, the sky had split open, and the sun was
Yeah.
leaking into this vampire city.
So like these random
Um,
beams of light were just like appearing through the sky, and so there was just like light starting to filter through. And
and
people started dying.
yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight. Say what
Mm-mm.
you will about vampires, but the good ones are out there, and they were just getting beamed up.
Yeah, they were just getting dusted, as they say. But yeah, so we were suddenly dropped into just this huge amount of chaos. I think at that point the party was actually split up a little bit, so we had to find our way back to each other, and then find
Hmm.
Jebediah. We spent a few minutes like helping evacuate folks, make sure they were indoors and safe, and then we went to go with Jebediah to check on this artifact.
Yes, the artifact was a giant black, like obsidian orb that was
I
just
don't think it was
floating.
giant. How I thought it was like a
I
baseball type thing.
No, it was like the size of like you know those inflatable balls that people climb into and like run
Was
around like
it?
hamsters. I'm pretty sure it was big,
Alright,
like
well, it was an orb of a non-determinate size.
an orb of size.
An orb of
Yes,
size.
and come to find out, there were these cultists, these these people who were like attacking the orb with like magic, and
Mhm.
they were chanting, and we were like, okay,
That's a
so these are the
problem.
guys. Yeah, these are the guys.
Mhm. So
Um,
we hopped into action to attempt
mhm,
to prevent these guys from destroying or doing whatever they were trying to do to this orb.
yeah. We're able to kind of work our way through them. It's an intense fight, and at this point, we're still trying to get our team synergy, like trying to figure out like where we're all in combat. Um, this is where Kazakh started to realize, like, oh, like we don't have anyone to go up and attack people. We're all attacking from range.
Yeah, most of us are
Um,
ranged.
so that's when Kazakhs started like going in and fighting with like a dagger. And we were able to work our way through all of the cultists, and eventually after the fight, we were like, oh, well, good thing that's over.
Unfortunately, we were not able to prevent them from doing whatever they were doing with the orb, and it did shatter.
Hmm.
At which point several of us failed some saves, Molly included, and saw a vision of them being dragged into some sort of other dimension scape where they saw like this area suspended in chains. And as this orb died, basically they saw one of these chains snap. Um,
Hmm.
I think in total we had seen like 5 or 6 chains. And then we kind
Yeah,
of blinked and we're back in like the like where we were previously, and the air genasi or water genasi was just gone.
yeah. She come to find out that she orchestrated the whole thing.
Hmm.
She faked being captured to lure us or Jebediah into uh, helping her get into the vampire city so she could get to the chain.
Yeah, so I think her original thing had been to try to just act like she was in distress near the campment and hope somebody like had found her. But we conveniently walked in, like helped with like apparently helped her, and then just walked her into
Saved
the
her.
village. Yeah, so we did not assist with that whole thing, but um yeah, she was just gone, and we were like, "Oh." And
Oh,
during the
well, there she
chanting and them
goes.
yelling and saying things, they apparently what they were doing was an action in like for an entity they called the Last Mother.
Yes.
And then with a history check, Molly remembered hearing some old like stories, like tidbits of stories for somebody called the Last Mother, which as she remembered was just like some really old like Fey queen that was like a bad guy a really long time ago. And that's all she really knew.
Yeah. Some ancient deity or being of ultimate power that was sealed away by these great chains that were scattered around the world.
Mm-hmm. So we found out a little bit later on a bit more about that, where essentially she really was just this ancient Fey deity, or is, I suppose, that was gaining power too quickly and plotting to do all these terrible things and basically ending existence. So so the other gods got together and sealed her away with these like giant chains, which have representations in the real world of different objects, and there are different places. And yeah, so those just were protected and or in various locations and represented those chains, and this organization is attempting to break those chains.
Yes. And at that point, we helped what we could in the vampire city, but we were like, all right, we gotta keep going. And that's when you received a telepathic message, correct? By
Right. Yes,
by a certain
from
someone.
Valnor actually in so
Giza?
well, I got it from Valnor, but that's just because Alcott was not able to message her. So Alcott was actually the bartender that they met when meeting with S.
Yeah, Mr. S, the crime lord.
Yeah, so he was there, and we just kind of disregarded his existence. But he messaged her and was like, "Hey, I've got some information for you. Can you please meet us in Giza in like 4 days or something like that?" And Molly replied back like, "Yeah, okay."
Yeah.
So they stuck
So we're
around
like, all
town.
right.
Yeah, so she let the group know, and then they stuck around town for a few days, just helping out.
And Kaz, like Iron Man, just in his workshop was just ching, ching,
I think
just
Molly ended up helping for a few
making
days
armor.
too,
Yeah.
to make
I
your
needed your
helmet.
help to make to make all the pieces for Kaz's armorer artificer switch.
Got some tinkering extraordinaire action going on. But yeah, so in that time, you swapped from an alchemist to an armorer.
Yes, I figured out like, oh, we have a ranger, a ranged artificer, a cleric, and Mikhail was kind of a close combat fighter, but it's better to have one more, like to have a main tank, and Mikhail was not a tank.
Yeah, unfortunately, Clara wasn't really like an up close and melee fighter. She was more of a hang back and sling spells kind of cleric, so we couldn't really rely on her to be tanky. And unfortunately, until you did that, a lot of the tankiness was falling on Ezric, who was
Oh yeah,
not taking it well. He was getting beat to hell.
an unfortunate ranger tank.
Yeah, it was not great for him. But yeah, so we spent a few days in this town just helping out, looking for missing people, just doing various Good Samaritan activities, and then we headed out.
Yeah,
Back to
we were
Giz.
like, well, we got to go meet Alcott.
Right.
So we traveled over to Giza, which was like a couple days travel.
I think it was like a day. But we went to Kids first, and then Molly met with the like Sela again and was like, "Hey, I know I gave you my name, but like, no,
Oh
can I
yeah, it's
get
like
that back?"
give me back my name.
Yeah, like she walked in there ready to throw down, but Sela was very polite about the whole thing and was just like, "Oh yeah, we just do that for security purposes. And she was like, yeah, no, let's do some swapsy doodles here. So she got her name back, and then everybody remembered her name as Molly and not Molly, which was great. And then from there they went ahead and headed to Giza, which I think was a couple days. I don't think anything big happened though.
No, there was an encounter with some centaur, I believe, but
Oh,
they
right.
didn't want any beef.
Yeah, they were just
were
collecting like flowers or something like that.
they're like sup,
Hmm
and then they left.
I think some of
We're
us
like,
had
all
stayed
right,
hidden for it. Like we were just like being all
yeah, in case
sneaky.
we had to throw down.
Yeah.
But luckily, no throwdown.
Yeah.
And then it was smooth sailing or smooth walking to back to Giza.
Yep. Made it back to Giza, where we were able to meet with Alcott and Valnor and Champ, the return of the goodest boy.
Champ was a bit more bipedal than he was when we first met him. He was walking on 2 legs.
Yeah, he was walking on 2 legs and had a really big sword, which was neat. But at that time,
Nice.
Alcott was like, "Hey, I'm a spy. Nice to meet you."
It's like, oh, we can trust you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so it turned out he was spying on Mr. S for like the government, and he knew that what we had delivered was sort of a plan for this assassination, and he was wanting to get our assistance with preventing it. But at that time, Molly was able to kind of unload, because I think in Kiz, before they went to Giza, they stopped at the library and got some more information. And so she was able to give him a little bit of information about like, hey,
So here's what we learned.
yeah, like these guys are breaking chains, and if we don't deal with this, it could be the end of the world. And he was like, you know what, this is the bigger fish. And so we kind of changed gears there. And he was able to start planning and getting some information on all of that, and kind of went back and did that. So I think he spent the day with us, and we actually found out a lot about him.
Yeah, he was a person on his way to becoming a god.
Hmm
But unfortunately, some gods don't like mortals becoming gods, and he was cursed to
Right.
have an immortal body but be unable to use the magic that he had so loved.
Right. So
And
he's immortal and unfortunately unable to use magic in any way. So magic does not affect him, but it also he can't use it. Like it's like this whole big thing. But he
a
is very
walking
knowledgeable.
anti-magic.
Yeah, his plan was to become like a god of magic, and I guess he'd gotten fairly close to succeeding.
Yeah, he was like a step or so away.
Yeah, and then his plans were foiled, and he's been cursed to wander this earth. So he and Valnor have been, doing all the spy activities, and I believe if I remember correctly, he and Valnor are a couple.
Oh yeah,
Pretty sure
they're a
that's the
couple.
thing. And then I think Mikhail tried to get in on that action and
Yeah,
was
tried
promptly
to be the third
rebuffed.
wheel.
Yeah. But yeah, so they went ahead and left on their way. I think they left a day ahead of us, and then we left the following day.
Yeah, but as we were leaving, do you remember the creature that attacked us?
Oh right, yeah, we had been sitting just like in the front just having breakfast when we were attacked by a giant goo wolf.
Yeah, Goop Dog,
Goop dog?
Goop Wolf,
Goop goop.
Snoop Dog.
Snoop dog, goop dog.
It was this giant wolf-like creature that was goopy, and it had dozens of eyes like scattered across its
all
body.
over it, and it was just like dripping itself everywhere. And if I remember correctly, it smelled fairly foul.
Yeah. It appeared through this rift that was just like cut open in the middle of the town.
Right, which was
And
not
we were like,
dissimilar to that rift that was open when we met Amelia Earhart.
mhm. we had fought off the goo wolf,
Hmm.
and it was a very dangerous fight.
I think
If
Ezric was paralyzed for the
Yeah,
entirety of the
unfortunately,
fight.
Ezric did get paralyzed this fight.
So in his first and
Uh,
second fight, he has had a
no, this
difficult
was his
time.
third fight.
Oh, his third fight. Okay.
His second fight, we
It
were
was at the
fighting at the orb.
right?
Yep. But we were able to take down Goo Wolf, and Mikhail did a little peek see inside of
Oh, I
the
forgot.
rift. Yeah, and had some adverse effects on his age. It
Did he put his
aged
hand
him
through
up.
it?
No, he put his head through.
Oh yeah, and it aged him up like a bunch of years. Like he got like
Like 7 years or something.
something, yeah. So he has an older face than the rest of his body. I forgot about that.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I think Alcott and them were still there for that fight and were able to tell them a little bit about what had happened there.
Mhm.
But apparently it's stuff that should not have been happening.
Yeah, a lot of rifts were being ripped open due to these chains being broken.
Hmm.
Um, but after the fight, we were like, all right, we got to head back to Watergate, I believe, because of the assassination attempt.
Hmm.
And also, Kha'Zix, back when we first stopped in Watergate, he and Cedar had signed up to this combat tournament, and Kha'Zix had received a ping, like a telegraphic ping, like the tournament's happening in 4 days. Like, make your way to Watergate to participate. And we were like, ooh, we
Hmm.
gotta go back to Watergate.
Right, you guys had signed up for a tournament, so we had to head back to Watergate and left post haste.
We found that the one of the more relaxed ways to get there and kind of quicker was taking the ferry.
Yeah, we heard that the ferry was a good way to get there, so we went ahead and hopped on the ferry.
Yeah, it was a long river that reached all the way near Watergate. So we're like, might as well go there in luxury.
Yeah, for sure. And with that, do you want to take 5 and maybe take a quick break and then come back?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. So be right back, folks. 5 minutes.
All right, take a 5 minute break.
Go grab a
If
drink.
Yeah, grab a drink, go to the potty.
Hydration, hydration, hydration.
Don't eat any snacks though.
What's wrong with
Only
snacks?
water.
Oh, I see.
All right, fine. You can have one snack.
One snack. You have one snack. Don't want to ruin your dinner.
Mhm. All right, be right back. I'm back.
I am also back. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Great. I'm glad
Do
to
you
hear
think
that.
we should work on like a break screen, like
Yeah,
so
probably.
that Justin can have that switched over whenever we do go to breaks in our main one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good plan. Let's talk with him about that next time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All right.
Back
So
to where we left off. We
yeah, we
are
were
just
on the boat.
got in the ferry.
I believe. Yeah, we were on the ferry. It's just a pretty generic ferry.
Oh yeah, a
You know?
generic ferry.
Generic ferry doing ferry stuff. But yeah, so we hopped on the ferry. I think Kaz and Molly picked up some postcards, and Kaz, did you get a souvenir?
I got a souvenir ferry boat.
Nice.
Yeah, little ferry boat.
Choo choo. But
Choo
yeah,
choo. If they go choo choo. But yeah, it was a pretty chill ride. I think we got a good day or so before we woke up in. Was it the morning or at night when that
I
happened?
think it was the morning.
So we wake up and there's just smoke
Mhm.
filling up the room, and we're like, "Oh, smoke in the room is not normal
Mhm. So we're like, better get
unless
out
you're
of here.
hotboxing." But this isn't it.
We're not hotboxing, not this time.
It wasn't consented hotboxing. Let's get out of here.
So yeah, we open the door and try to flee. Most of the team heads up to the upper decks. Molly stays down because she's got her broom and can move a little faster than everybody else. And she tries to save some civilians. She manages to pick up one kid when she notices that Clara is not making her saving throws and is slumped over at the bottom of the steps. Breathed
Just
a little too
coughing and
much
wheezing.
yeah, too much smoke. So she scoops her up and takes this kid and their cleric to the top of the
deck.
and drops them off there. Where combat ensues. We discover a fire genasi, much like the water genasi we met previously, has set the boat on fire.
Mm-hmm. She had told us that she heard from her sister, which you can kind of piece together, was the water genasi. She told us that her sister had told her about us. Very confusing, but she was like, "Oh, let me test how you really are," and she set the boat on fire, and she called for a wyvern, and she pieced out with us left behind on a flaming ferry, surrounded by her goons who were proceeding towards us.
There was a couple goons. We took evasive action, did some shooting, did some good old fashioned murder, and then Molly was like, "Kaz, throw the beans.
Kaz, you still got those beans?
You got those beans?" He did.
Oh,
he
he's
did
like,
in
"Oh,
fact
heck
have
yeah."
the beans.
So reaching into the bag, Kha'Zix pulls out like 3 beans and tosses it towards the meanest looking guy on the ship, which is like a minotaur. And first bean, it's like a little puff of effect. The second bean summons like these little mushroom looking creatures. The third bean crashes through the ship, and out from the hole a huge beanstalk, a gigantic beanstalk, just bisects the ship.
Immediately takes root through the ship and into the riverbed below.
Yep, and
so I think it actually held the ship in place, like it didn't go floating off down the stream.
But
it did
sunk
bisect
the ship.
it. Did it sink it?
Yeah, it broke the ship in half.
Okay.
And that caused everyone on our side of the ship to fly forward.
Except for
luckily,
Molly, who is on a broom.
Yeah, luckily Kha'Zix was able to grab the child before crashing back into the ship deck, taking his damage on top of his own.
Such a good goblin.
Yeah, Kha'Zix is a great goblin.
For sure.
Never did any crimes in his life.
Not one.
But having gotten rid of all of the enemies of the ship, through unconventional means, we were able to get off of the ship through
Yeah.
flight or levitation or swimming.
However, yeah. We end up back on the bank, look out at the ship and determine everybody that was on that is probably dead now.
hmm If
At
it
which
wasn't the
case,
smoke inside, it was probably the beanstalk ripping through
Yeah.
the ship.
one of those two things. Let's say it was the smoke.
Yeah,
The
well, it
smoke
was a
wasn't our
smoke.
fault. It's fine.
Yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
so at which point, Kaz has brought this little 10-year-old boy to the bank, this little human boy, and we all are suddenly faced with the fact that now we have a child. Which this is a child. His name is Percy, and Molly decides promptly that oopsies, his mom just died on the boat, and he does not have a father figure in his life. He never knew his dad, so Molly is like, "All right, I'll take him." And
Mine.
yeah,
Just grabs them.
she just kidnaps this child. Child napped.
No, it was consent. He
Yeah, we
walked
did
with us.
ask him. He said he wanted to go with us, so he
Yeah,
did.
can we kidnap you? And he
Yeah.
was like, yeah.
So they get this kid up in tow. Molly puts him on the broom, and they
Head back to Watergate.
head back to Watergate on foot.
hmm
I believe once
Once
we
we
got there, we did discover there was a few survivors from the ferry, weren't there?
There were some people who were oddly missing from the ferry when the fire was already taking place.
Right, yeah. They had gotten off.
Those who were of higher standing than us in the lower class seating
Mm-hmm.
were already off the ship and away by the time we had awoken and found that there was smoke everywhere.
Those rat bastards.
A bit of side tangent. At this point, Ezric has a magical bracelet on that he was unable to take off, which he was able to summon a bow from. And on
which
the
he had
ship,
gotten in his sleep, right?
yeah, he had gotten a magical bracelet in his sleep, and we were a bit curious about it because it seemed to make him aggressive. And
Right,
come
he
to
did
find
shoot
out,
a guy in the face, like point blank, that was like begging for his life.
it was a bit brutal.
Not in front of the kid.
Yeah, turn the child's eyes. So we found out that his magical bracelet was tied to a god named the Forgotten Father, I believe. So something along those lines.
Yeah, something.
So
like
we're
that.
like,
If I remember correctly, the dream he was having was like he'd been having these reoccurring dreams of when his family was massacred. And in this particular
Werewolves.
instance, he goes like he's like running out like mom, dad, but or I'm sorry, I don't mean to make fun of his tragic backstory.
Mom, dad,
my bad, my bad. Tragic backstory, TM, my bad. But he was like mom, dad, and saw his uncle and stuff, and werewolves and scariness. And then he looks down and sees the bow, and it's like take me, and like some whispering shit. Which instead of being
Take
like that seems cursed, he was like yeah, cool, and did. And that's how he ended up with it. So it's like not like a bracelet, it's like a tattoo around his wrist. Where it's like in the skin, like you can't get it off. And yeah, he's got crazy bow and elf features. So he had pointy ears now.
Yeah, so now he was transitioning from a human to something different.
At first, it seemed fairly harmless, though. He was a little aggressive, but other than that, he seemed
if
fine.
anything, it made him cooler.
He's cooler now.
Yeah, now he's cool. So we proceed into Watergate and basically just get ready for the tournament coming up. We get some gear for the child because we suddenly decide that he is going to be coming with us instead of going to an orphanage.
Yeah, no, Molly was like, I'm not gonna send him to an orphanage. We just killed his entire family. I would feel terrible.
No, we
so
didn't.
it's fine.
The ship killed them.
I know, but Molly felt bad, and so she took him around to some stores. She got him like a full like backpack, whole kit of stuff. She got him like I think I've got him in like studded leather armor. Like I
Got him the back to
decked this
school
kid
sale.
out. Yeah, we got him a slingshot and a dagger, I think, and then
Yeah, we just spoil the child.
yeah, spoiled the shit out of the kid, and got him some toys, from that magical little kids shop.
Mhm.
Um,
And then as we were shopping, Mikhail had touched a register in
Oh,
one of the
right.
shops
at the place where
that
Molly got her pantsuit.
yeah, where Molly got her nice clothes. And as he walked away, he bamps the register inside of his chest as one of his tattoos, because that's
Yeah.
something his class can do. It's a homebrew class.
Yeah, it's a homebrew, but like I guess basically you can like identify an object, and if you touch it, as long as you're within a certain distance of it, you can put it into your like he has like a storage system of 8 slots, which is like tattoos that he can put on his chest, where he can keep items. And so he just walked out of the shop and then like stole it. But what was bad was he went in there with
Ezric.
and then left it, and he told the shopkeeper that Ezric was his dad. And then he left, so Ezric was still in there when everything went missing, and he had seen Ezric because at the time he had actually been disguised as someone else.
Yeah, so it was a bit of clumsy
Tomfoolery.
robbery that
Bad
could have went off well if things were planned a bit better. But hey, you live and you learn.
Unfortunately, we did live and learn, because the following morning we did wake up to see some wanted posters for Ezric.
Ezric and the fake Mikhail.
And the fake Mikhail, the child.
So we kind of went back and apologized to
gave the register back, yeah.
yeah, to the shop owner, gave him the register back. And then we got ready for the tournament. Did we do the first fight before the party, or was it after the party? It was after.
I think we did the party and then we did the fights afterwards.
Yes. As we were resting, Kha'Zix received a letter for a masquerade party.
It was an invitation.
It was an invitation, and it was sent by someone called the Sunbringer. So yeah, you can't just ignore someone who has a name like that. So Kha'Zix was invited the whole party, because there's no way he's going there by himself. Yeah, a respectable name, Sunbringer.
So they got all decked out, did some paper mache masks and crap for funsies, and then went to this fancy party.
Yep. And at the fancy party, Kha'Zix and Maul and Clara kind of went up to the more expensive area, like the meeting rooms and studies and everything. And we met kind of like the people in power of Watergate. We met like the captain of the guard, the captain of the financing, just the people who ran the city. And he met the Sunbringer, which was a halfling knight, like warrior lady. And there was also a very important guest there. There was the empress of the entire country of Aglor. I believe
hanging
her.
out.
Yeah, she was just there for the meeting. Empress Githlana.
Yeah,
the
if I remember
elf
right,
royalty.
weren't they literally bringing you in there to talk about like the Jangly Man or something?
that was a side thing, but they were also wanted to talk about the chains.
Right. We had brought up the chains to Alcott, and he was working with that group. So they were talking about the
Yes.
chains, and then I believe at that event, Molly gave them the paper, like the copy of the paper that Braven had given her that
For
went
the
over the
assassination attempt,
assassination
yeah.
information. Yeah. And then she had to dip early because she had left Jeepers, her cat, with Percy, and some weird stuff was going on. So she took Pitter Patter, her broom, and exited out a window.
At the meeting, Kha'Zix kind of discussed some of the stuff. He met the general or the captain of the Boros Legion, Tuklok, a fellow goblin in this. So far in Watergate, Kha'Zix had never met another goblin.
Was this the first
And
goblin you'd met in the campaign?
there was the boy who was part of the Boy Scouts, but I didn't meet him.
Right, okay.
So Kha'Zix met Tuklok and was like, "Oh, another goblin! Like, nice to meet you." And immediately, she was like, "Oh, you're bringing disgrace to us goblins with what you've done, with what you've created, and who you worked for." And he was like, "Oh,
Oof.
okay. You don't know nothing. You don't know nothing about Kha'Zix. You don't know what he's had to do."
And just in case
But-
anyone's wondering about the Boy Scouts, previously we had run into a Boy Scout troop, and Molly had gone over and talked to them, and then we had left. There wasn't a lot going on with that. He just saw that there was a goblin in the Boy Scout troop.
Yeah, it was just interesting.
Little tidbit.
And then, out of one of the doorways comes a half elven person with dreads and kind of darker skin. It was Kha'Zix's old time friend Eli,
Yay!
and after the heart tugging reunion, Eli presented Kha'Zix with a choice. Eli had secretly been working with the Boros Legion, and he offered Kha'Zix a position and a badge. And with hardly any hesitation, Kha'Zix takes the badge and puts it on, and it's like, "Yeah."
So, what organization did you join? The Boros Legion?
Yes, the Boros Legion,
And,
which is like the secret kind of cop force,
Right.
but also like regular cop force.
They're just cops.
Yeah, there's cops, cool cops.
Yeah. So at that point, you were really an honorary member, though, right? You wouldn't have any
Yeah.
real authority.
I didn't have a lot of authority, but I was considered like a rookie cop at that point.
Nice. Okay. And from what you said, had Eli been working with them the entire time you've known him, or was that more of a
Yep.
recent? Yeah, it was the whole time.
He was undercover, I believe, the whole time. And kind of after the meeting and the party and everything, we went back and we prepared for the first day of the Tournament of the Gods, which is a single battle and a team battle kind of event where you would face either someone on one-on-one combat or face a creature as a team.
And I think we signed up for the team one, so we didn't really gloss over the single combat. We just did a couple different team rounds.
Yes. The team consisted of, at first, Kha'Zix, Ezric, and Clara. And
was Mikhail not there too? I thought he was.
I think it was just. Well, was it all four of us at first?
I think so, because I think at first the only one sitting out was Molly and Ezric, I think, and then
oh yeah, and we substituted Ezric later.
And then Ezric, and then it was Molly and Zephyr on the stands.
Yes. So our first combat, we faced against a hill giant. which was strange because hill giants weren't really in the universe. They had been banished to a different kind of plane that could
Right.
only be accessed through beanstalks, which, lo
Oops.
and behold, we accidentally made one. Um,
Yeah, so either it came down to the beanstalk, or maybe it was one of those rifts that keeps opening up.
mhm.
But yeah, excitingly enough, because I was sitting out for this particular session, I was allowed to play the hill giant, and I did try my best to kill you.
Yeah, too bad it wasn't good enough. We whooped his ass. Um, and after that, we had passed our first round, and a couple teams passed. I think one had failed.
Yeah, the
And
electric
we
one,
were
I think,
like,
with the sea monster.
yeah, no, it was the one with the spiders.
Ah, the spiders. Okay.
Yeah, they had fought blinking spiders, and it wasn't
Blink
a good show.
spiders.
That they
Gross.
didn't have a chance.
Yeah, they went down fast. Cover the child's eyes. But yeah, so that was our first day. You ne- murdered the hill giant, and then
Hmm.
we just kind of
Easy.
went home.
Yeah, went back to the place we
The
were
inn.
staying at,
Yeah.
the Ivory Ribbon,
Mm-hmm.
where Kha'Zix was actually paying for a lot of our rooms by helping in the kitchen. He had
Yeah.
found a new love of cooking.
Yeah. So you were helping. What is his name? He's a half orc.
Uglub.
Ooglub.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
Uglub, the half orc cook.
yeah, you do have cooking supplies. What's your bonus to cooking? Isn't it pretty significant?
It's my tool proficiency, and Justin was letting me use intelligence. So right now
Nice.
it's a plus 11.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty good. Um,
10 or above, I'm getting in the 20s.
yeah, you're good. You're good. But yeah, so you started cooking, and everybody was very delighted by that. And every time we
Mhm.
ordered anything from there forward, we would do that. And of course, I think during this time, Esdric discovered he has a voracious love of pudding.
Oh yeah, he's obsessed with it. It's like,
Loves pudding.
if he could only eat that, I think he would.
Yeah, absolutely. He would die so fast.
Yeah, he would just give up.
Hmm.
Um, and then unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Clara as she had received a call from her clergy
Yeah.
to help a town that was far to the northeast-ish that had been attacked by
Dragons?
a dragon that had been brought through by a rift.
Didn't
By
we see that thing come through? Did we forget about that? I think we did. Right? We saw it come through and then it flew away.
yeah, we're camping and we saw a ancient blue dragon erupt through a portal
Mhm.
and kind of just fly off to the distance.
Yeah,
So
it just kind of took off. But we also saw another dragon come through with that traveler. When did that come? Did that happen already, or is that later?
yeah, that happened before. That was when we
Before.
were in mid travel as well.
Okay, so we had also met another rider and his dragon had come through, and they were previously, I guess, from the moon. From like a very long time ago.
Apparently the moon was where everything started, and then the planet came after. It was terraformed.
Yeah, so they started on the moon, and that was where civilization was, and then they terraformed the planet, and he was very surprised to be here and to see that it worked, and flew off to go start some planning to try and see what they could do about the big scary dragon.
Yeah, hopefully that's all done. We don't got to deal with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it is an unresolved quest line. Let's just say that much.
Yeah, that's someone else's problem.
I mean, not really. It'll
What do you
come up
mean?
again later because I
We
think
didn't do it.
I mean, yeah, but it'll still come up later. But yeah, so there's now this ancient blue dragon running around, and a dragon rider and his pet dragon also running around, trying to come up with I believe he's at the capital trying to get some.
Yeah, he's at Voltaire.
Yeah, trying to get some resistance going. He made contact with Valnor and Alcott, and has been
Mhm.
doing some planning. But yeah, so that did happen. So we're
Yeah.
all aware. Forgot about
So
that.
unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to Clara. So at that point, we had to switch out. We had to switch in or sub in Ezric for our competition fights.
Right. So she
And
said a farewell to the group, and then we headed back to the we wished her well, and headed back to the gates, where while we were waiting in line to get inside and also for you to swap out, Molly met a boy,
groupie.
a groupie, who said that he saw the fight and was just so excited and just wants to adventure with us, and we were like, oh.
I
Molly
think
was like, what?
didn't he also mention at this point? Didn't you stop the attempt?
I think it was today. It was like during your fight with the thing, because didn't the fight stop and they had to like put it away?
Oh
or
yeah,
something?
we had to redo the fight.
Yeah,
So
you had to
you
redo
stopped.
the fight. So it was during all of this. Like I bailed and did that. He had just seen the other fights. But yeah, so he was
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Hey, I'd like to do this," and so I invited him to sit with us in the stands, and he did, and that's Zephyr, who would soon be joining our party.
Yes, a air genasi sorcerer.
Right? Yes, he has love of sorcery points, and is also secretly an assassin, which we'll probably find out at some point.
Wonder what kind of sorcerer he is. I forgot to ask him.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Oh, I guess he'd seen the assassination attempts and not the fights. So maybe he comes.
Okay, yeah.
Are we sure we only did two fights? How many fights did we do? 2 or 3?
We did 2. We did the hill giant, and we did the shadow bat.
Okay,
And
so
I
we
think
start
it was
the fight with the shadow bat. The fight stops because of the assassination attempt, and then you finish the shadow bat tomorrow.
Yeah, we
So it's
finished
like
it the
3
next
fights,
day.
but it's really just a redo of a fight.
Yeah, we stopped.
Okay.
So yeah, it
Zephyr
felt like
shows
3
up
fights
the
because
next
you
day.
fought.
Yeah. So this day we had all gathered again, and they had started their fight, but part of the way through, Molly noticed the assassination time start, so we actually had an entire session where those guys were supposedly fighting, and these guys all played different guards, and we all saved the king and the queen. So Molly went
The
on a little
Empress and the
expedition.
Emperor.
Or
Justin
that.
will keep getting on to
The
you.
Empress
We
and
gotta
the
call them
Emperor. I'm sorry,
Empress,
it's so
Empress, and
fancy.
Emperor.
But yeah, so Molly vortexed warp the Emperor into the stands, and then and tried to pull the queen onto her broom so they could get away. But unfortunately, the queen did fall off the broom and then fell.
Yeah, she was a bit clumsy.
She fell into the stadium. Oops. But it was foiled,
Queen
and they
fell.
survived. Oopsies. So that's fine. And then Molly was told she could have a reward, which she requested to have like 7, I think, magic items. And she will be fetching those at a later date. Yeah.
Yep. For the giant shadow bat fight, it was a close call.
Right. The next day after
Kha'Zix,
we had done everything else, we'd like went home, did everything again, and then came back again, right?
Yeah. Kha'Zix had taken a team hit explosion from Mikhail and then was swallowed. And
yeah.
as Mikhail and Ezric were fighting it from the outside, Kha'Zix, from a little help inside the stands from Zephyr, had awoken inside of its stomach and started beating it from the inside.
As one does.
Eventually ripping his way out like a chest burster, Kha'Zix was able to kill the bat, and the team had won the fight. So we just had to watch and wait and see if the other competitors would have beaten their fights.
Yep, so we all reconvened in the stands. And one thing I did want to mention that we forgot to cover was on the way from Kids to Giza and then Giza back. At some point during those travels, Kha'Zix had decided to draw one of his cards that
one
was
of the
left in the
cards.
deck of few things.
Some things,
And
yeah.
he drew a card that broke a chain just instantly. Just whoopsies, just broke a
Yep,
chain.
just like, oh, what's this card? Oh, it's a card that controls one of the magical chains that holds the last mother back. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like why does
Why
that
is this in
exist?
here?
Why does that exist?
Why is this here?
But yeah, that did break, and then I think it's after that point we saw the dragons and stuff. So as more chains break,
Yeah.
weirder stuff starts to happen.
Hmm.
But yeah, just wanted to mention that. But yeah, we reconvene in the stands, and by the end of it, the headliners is what the group decided to call themselves, came out victorious.
Yes, we had received as our victory a estate in the higher district of Watergate, and each of us a title that Kha'Zix uses regularly, as often as possible.
Mm-hmm.
He is now Kha'Zix, the Iron Goblin, champion of the gods, and he
The
uses
only
that.
ones that got the titles are the ones who participated in the fight. So Molly and Zephyr do not have a title.
Yes.
But yeah, it's
So
good fun.
then we kind of checked out our new digs.
Yeah, so we were given a manor. It was quite large. And we went out and yeah, got it set up. We got some cushions. Kaz decked out his kitchen, and
Mhm.
then from that point, I think we had some downtime to play with.
Yeah, about a month or so.
Yeah, it was about a month. So we were told that that like we had a meeting with them, and they had explained during that party that the next issue that we were gonna have with these folks was gonna be in about a month, and we were told it was gonna be in Molly's home country. So one thing
Mhm.
about Molly is that she left home when she was in her late teens, um, and she did it, because she had a strong sense of wanderlust in her soul. So she packed her bags and left her country, but her country actually has closed borders, so it's very hard to get out and in. Um, Due to some war and different issues happening, she had to basically smuggle herself out of the country and sneak and do all these other things. So, in leaving, it was basically saying that she probably would never come back with the current laws. So,
Mhm.
going home for her was a lot. So knowing that that was coming up, everybody decided to take some time and prep and figure out what they were gonna do. So let's go over what everybody did during their 1 month.
Kha'Zix in that time had used his fame as a champion of the gods, champion of the arena, to open up not open up, but to start a business, a ale business, because one of his proficiencies is in brewing supplies. So he is able to craft ale and other such alcohols.
Mm-hmm.
So he opened up a business, hired a financial manager named Arlo, and through throwing one of his magic beans just randomly, he summoned a tree ant that he affectionately calls Big Bud, who lives in our backyard.
Yeah, a tree that lives in our garden. Yeah, so you started a business. I managed to get Alcott, the immortal wannabe god sorcerer man. He's now a friend of the family, and Molly was able to ask him to start teaching Percy. And in all of these events that's happened, Percy decided that he had a very big interest and a beginning talent in magic. So she got him to come and start training Percy in how to do magic, and then also just made a machine gun and
Oh
started a
yeah.
garden. It was really just a joy.
Yeah,
Um,
it's regular day.
yeah, just a regular month for Molly. Machine guns. Good times. I remember it was really interesting because even though I have such a bonus to it, the DM Justin, he set the DC for that so high, it was very difficult to get. I don't think he expected me to get it, and he gave me a couple different tries, like one per week or something, and I got so close, within a point away from all of them. and the only time I was able to do it was when we came back, and he gave me one final chai with Meek's help, with Kaz's help, and then I was able
Yeah,
to
you're
get her
welcome.
done. So thank you. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what Molly did, and then I believe Zephyr spent his time killing people for money.
Yeah, assassinating people
Yeah,
or
doing that good
saving
assassin-ness.
people, which involves killing people.
Yes, I guess. Yeah, so not really. I mean, from what I understand, most of the people he was killing were just like guards and like innocent folks. Or it was one person. He killed one person. I'm not sure what else he did with the rest of his month. He doesn't live on the manor like the rest of us does. He actually has a home in the city with his older sister and some of his siblings.
Mm-hmm. For Mikhail, he kind of snuck around doing creepy stuff, helping out some people on the side.
I don't know. I don't know what Mikhail does.
He's just there.
He's just there hanging out.
It's in the background.
Did he work on some
And
new tattoos, maybe?
I think so. I think he practiced his calligraphy,
Mhm.
his tattoo work.
That's impressive. He took some time and we taught him some spells from our book so he could add those to his list.
Yeah, and for
I think I taught him
Ezric,
Vortex Warp, stuff like that.
oh yeah, because Mikhail also learned spells through seeing them cast.
Yes, he learns spells through seeing them cast and then does a roll to see if he can memorize them.
Mm-hmm. And then Ezric spent some time with the good boy Odin, his big wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we blinked, it was all over. We had to get ready to travel towards Maul's home country.
Yeah, so we all convened and met up. And we asked Percy if he wanted to come, and he did. So Molly was like, "All right, don't
All right.
die.
You're in for a ride. Let's go, kid." And using the magic of a Githyanki, who was working with the Empress, he teleported us over to. Is it Aline? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, I think that's right, Aline.
Yeah, to Aline, the Maul's home country,
Mhm.
and we were like, "All right, let's make our way."
Yep. So from the beginning, they had given us a little bit of a hint of some different locations where it could be, and Molly knew the location of a few of them from just passing by. So she was like, "All right, let's head south. We're about equidistant from these two, so then we can pick from there." So they started traveling.
Mm-hmm. I think it was one day in,
Yeah.
like as we were getting our long rest, a creature of fat flesh and many mouths had come
Ugh.
running towards our camp, spotted by, I believe, Molly and Mikhail.
Mhm.
And we engaged in combat with it. It has attempted to swallow Ezric unsuccessfully, and then the rest of us had to make saves to avoid trying to feed anything we had, if not ourselves, to this creature.
Yeah, Molly made the like she took the longest to make a save to get out of it. So I think I ended up feeding that thing like 16 rations.
Yes, a lot of rations were fed to this creature
Yeah.
that was trying to eat us.
Yeah. So it was a kind of a rough one, but we did take him down eventually.
Yeah, Kha'Zix was able to finish him off and just destroy him. But before that, Kha'Zix and me had a sneaking suspicion that this creature was a bit hardier than we thought. I didn't know what this creature was, so this wasn't any metagaming or anything like that. But I said, "All right, burn this thing. I don't want anything left of it."
Mhm.
And come to find out later, if we wouldn't have burned it, it would have gotten back up and perhaps
Disgusting.
pursued us again.
Awful. Hate it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
Molly, I believe, was
first
able
night
to
over.
remember old story that people in this country tell kids at night. or like, oh, you better like behave, or like the hunger will come and like
Yeah,
eat
the
you.
endless hunger will
Yeah.
grab you.
So she was able to be like, hey, this sounds like a folklore, but that's just like a story like parents tell their kids. I don't know what's going on. So there was a little bit of familiarity there, but other than that, we really didn't have any information on whatever that creature was. We were gonna try to trace its steps to like see if we could figure out where it came from, but unfortunately, the chain quest was on a bit of a timeline, so we had to hurry.
Yeah. And then eventually, as we were kind of proceeding, we stumbled upon a battle between an airship and ground forces.
Hmm.
The airship was being just assaulted with fireballs and different magical spells. It was trying to return fire, but this was something we just didn't want to have anything to do with. So as we were trying to get away, it turns out the resistance fighters had snuck up on us and had cornered Maul.
Well, I had actually, out of curiosity, because I wanted to see what was happening, I flew above the tree line and was able to see like people like flinging themselves onto this machine, and she had kind of like floated over to kind of like get a better look and had noticed a camp, with a whole bunch of folks running around and a flag that had the silhouette of a girl in a broom with a cat on it, and she was like, "What the heck?" And noticed that they noticed her, so she tried to run back to the group. Made it back, but they caught up to her.
Yep. Being held at blade point, uh, Maul was kind of in a tough spot until
Yeah.
she turned around and saw who was actually holding up the axe.
Yeah, so she was actually being held at blade point by I think it was, well, she was, her broom got dispelled by her mom's like assistant chick, whatever her name is, I forget. And then when she told her name, then they fetched this other lady who did the axe thing, and then Molly did some information of, oh, this is some of the trouble I got into as a kid, and then her mom realized it was her, and they had a family reunion, and it was great. And then they went back to the resistance camp and learned that after Molly left, a big old group of people in her town were like, "Hey, like, why is the country closed? Like, just because people want to travel, we shouldn't have to never see them again." And they were just realizing how messed up it was that nobody was ever allowed to leave. So they started a rebellion.
It's a good cause
Good
for a
cause.
rebellion.
Yeah.
Um, After meeting some of the resistance fighters, we learned that a an ancient kind of structure was nearby. So I believe, did Clearwater transport us there, or did we walk there?
No, they gave us a general direction and we walked.
Oh yeah, so we approached this ancient structure. As we're getting near, it begins like pushing us away with like magic and stuff. So we kind of force our way through, and there are like 7 doors there.
Mm-hmm. The
As
magic made you want to like go a different way, right? Or just like
Yeah,
not.
it made you like not want to approach
Right.
the structure. Um, so as we go to one of the doors, I can't remember who went in first. Was it you
It was
who
me.
went in?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
stepped in the first door and it closed behind me.
yeah, it closed behind her. So we were like, well, we can't go in through that way. So we all went through different doors and
Mm-hmm.
proceeded into these trials.
Yeah, and I think Mikhail and Ezra tried to go into one door together,
Yeah, it
but
almost bisected them.
it did not work. So it was found that everybody had to do their own door. So including Percy, everybody in the group took their own door, which we found out later on. Each door had a representation of one of the 7 deadly sins and how it related to our character and who they basically were. Do you want to go over what some of those rooms were?
I mostly remember mine. Mine
That's
was
fair.
the sin of pride.
Hmm. So how did that work
And
for him?
he saw a mirror and kind of saw what he was becoming. And as he was like examining the mirror, it shattered, and a copy of himself was brought uh through like into being. And before fighting himself, he examined the walls, and it said the path is like opened through humbleness or something like that. So he he kind of realized like, oh, like I put so much pride into like what I've done that I've let it like influence my decisions. Like I have too much pride. So he kind of tried to give up his pride, and the clone disappeared, and he continued on his way.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll just go over ours so people have an example. I don't really remember too much about what everybody else had, but
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have the exact
yeah,
details of
unfortunately,
everyone's
this is an
trials.
experience where Justin kicked everybody out except for the person who was in that room, so we did it one by one, and so we don't really know what happened in everybody else's trials exactly. But
Mhm.
Molly, hers, which was an account of her quick temper, her room was Wrath. So she appeared
Oh
in a
yeah.
room where, so she had learned from her mom that her father had been kidnapped by the government and was taken as like a political hostage, as the leader of this resistance. And so she goes into this room, and it's just an empty stone room, with a man standing behind her father, who is tied into a chair. And as she watched, this guy grabs her dad's head and pulls it back, and she slits his throat. And then it resets, and it just happens over and over and over and over again. And Molly, in her attempts to save her dad, tries a bunch of things. She tries shooting the guy before he can slice his throat. She tries getting like she just tries 100 different things in 100 different ways, and finds that most of her solutions do involve violence. And once she actually got her dad away from him and then just waited to see what the guy had done, and actually like did like somewhat of a peaceful solution, the door opened. So her big thing is I guess wrath. And then I think I don't know too much about everybody else's, unfortunately, so I can't really speak to it, but yeah.
Yeah, I know it was like envy
Mhm.
and
I think it was Zephyr's was
sloth.
envy, which she had some potion stuff to drink. And
Azrix
then
was sloth.
Ezric's was sloth. And I think Percy's was what was it? I
Wasn't
know
his envy?
he got a book out of it. No, I think envy was Zephyr's, because he had like a choice
The
between a couple
choice.
of different things. Yeah.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Um.
I don't remember what Percy's was, but I know he got
Oh,
a
was it
spell book out of
lust?
his. Maybe. I'm not sure, but he got a new tomb, like a spell tomb out of it. So some
Mhm.
people actually got things out of their rooms, but for the most
Yeah,
part, most
I didn't
didn't.
get shit.
I didn't get shit either. Freaking Zephyr got like a +10 to like his like speech or something for like
I
a
think Ez
day.
I think Ezra got like boots of haste that he keeps
Something.
forgetting. I'm
I just like we got the short end of the stick, Kaz.
gonna take his shoes.
The heck's up with this?
I'm gonna take his
Um,
Tims.
do it. He'll never even notice. He forgets he has them.
Yeah,
Um,
he'll be too busy on his missing arm.
yeah, too busy with the missing arm. But yeah, so we get through this gate. All of these gates, these doors, meet up in a room. They do a little bit of dealing with Percy. Apparently had a very hard time in his room, so they did some dealing. And as time's gone on, they started realizing that Percy's taking on some draconic traits. So his feet are becoming like scaled. He's getting little elongated toenails. One of his eyes has changed color and is like slitted. He's growing a horn on one side with that eye. Like he's
Yeah, he's getting
slowly,
cooler.
yeah, he's slowly getting more of these draconic traits. And Molly's just trying to act cool because she doesn't know what to do, and everybody's just trying to be like, it's okay.
It's
But yeah,
cool. Don't worry about it.
yep. So they deal with that a little bit, and then head further in.
Eventually, we find this fountain type thing and are transported to kind of a middle dimension type thing that had like these crystals and it was like a floating island type thing.
Mm-hmm.
We go through another fountain and then we find ourselves in the Feywild,
Yep. So we
the
end
Fall
up there.
Court.
Yeah, the fall court. We keep saying spring, and Justin keeps having to correct us. It's the fall court.
Hey, it's just what we wanted. We wanted to be
Yeah.
in the spring so bad.
Just love spring. But yeah, we find ourselves in a clearing with this pond. We prevent Mikhail from jumping through with much effort because he just tries
Mhm.
to yeet himself back into it. And then we
Mhm.
start walking.
Oh yeah. Eventually we find a little town village, meet some satyrs who point us in the right direction. I'm pretty much the only one who can understand these people
I think
because of
Zephyr
my
got a
helmet
drink
and
from
everything.
them. Like they gave him
Yeah,
some beer or something.
he did drink. And eventually we find the castle to Gathilda, which is the queen of the Fall Court. We meet her and give her some gifts, and she gives us hospitality, a place
And
to stay.
information. Because I guess her big thing is information. So she gives us a place to stay, and then she also drops some bombs. So we learned that Mikhail is the child of the goddess that rules over Shadowfell. So he's like a demigod, I guess, or a half god. We're not really sure.
Yeah,
Depend on him.
a type of demigod, I believe.
And then we learned that Percy, his dad is like the god of order or something.
Yeah, like the dragon god of something of like
Yeah, like he holds
order.
like the balance of the universe or something. So that's a thing. And then we learn that like a couple different things. We learned a couple of the party members were immortal. There's some different shenanigans going on.
Yeah,
Molly and Cass are
Ball
just
and
standing there like, I don't know what's going
yeah,
on.
like, well, okay, well, I guess we'll just be the mortals over
Yeah,
here.
we're just the lame mortals.
The little mortals.
little mortals over here and are just doing our own thing with our own
It's
little
like,
light
hey,
fans. It's fine.
we're smarter than the gods, so like, hey.
Right? Anyway.
The
The deity of balance, the dragon was.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we stay for a dinner.
Oh, they
where
also
we
act like he's like they're like, "Oh, your majesty, your liege," to
Oh yeah,
poor little.
they treat Percy as
Yeah,
like
he's so
as he's a
confused.
walking prince.
Yeah, they're just like, "Oh, my prince, my lord." It's like the queen of the Fae here is over here like giving like this 10-year-old like these respects that he's not sure what to do with.
Just doesn't understand.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
We stay for a dinner where we meet Gathilda's sister Tatiana, the queen.
Like all the Fae.
Yeah, the Empress of the Fae, and our good old pal Ezric.
Good old pal.
Makes an offhand comment about werewolves that he does not like them and thinks they shouldn't be in existence anymore. The Queen Tatiana takes offense to that because some of her best friends are werewolves,
like, some
apparently.
Of my most trusted advisors are werewolves, and we're like, shut up, Ezric, shut up! No, stop talking!
And he's like, oh, maybe you should fix that. And she just got up and left, and Gathilda turns to us and is like, well, I think you should pack your bags for tomorrow. Y'all can't stay here anymore.
Yeah, she's
and
like, I offered for you to stay tonight, and I won't rescind that, but I cannot extend hospitality further because your friend's a dick. And we're like, great, thanks a whole bunch.
Yeah, so
yeah, but through them we did learn some more information about the chains and stuff, right, Kaz?
Yes, we did learn the location of the chain that we're trying to protect was through the portal that we came from. We go through that to the Shadowfell and then to one of the levels of hell after that.
And we also find out Tatiana herself is also carrying a chain.
Yeah, she was protecting
Or
a different
protecting
chain.
them. Yeah. So.
Um,
Oh yeah, while we're
so
there too, that night when we all head back to our rooms for our one night of peace in this palace, we all convene in Percy's room because he got like this huge, like magnificent suite, while the rest of us all just had rooms. So we sleep in his house and make a tree like a pillow fort and stuff. And
Pillow fort.
Zephyr gets jumped by his sister.
yeah, his Water Genasi sister, who was disguised as one of the hand or the butlers, basically, of the Feywild Palace. She jumps him, and basically they have a bit of a. Did I say Water Genasi or Air Genasi?
We had an air genasi.
Yeah, an Air Genasi. Um,
They're all air genasis.
yeah, they're all Air Genasti.
Gymnasties. He gets mad when we call them gymnasties, though.
So yeah, he tries to get away from her, but he's too weak and powerless to do anything. She erases his memory of ever meeting him or
So
her.
weak and powerless.
Yeah, he couldn't do nothing.
If I remember correctly, she was asking him like, "Why are you here? Like, what do you know about the chains? Like, what's going on and stuff." And then, yeah, he tried to escape, but she caught him, wiped his memory of her ever coming, and then left.
Yeah, she just pieced out.
Which is funny because I think it was like Zephyr was like on his way to run to like us.
Yeah, he
So
was
he's
trying to
like,
get to us, but
why am I leaving my room?
he's like, why am I here?
Mhm.
So we eventually leave to the Shadowfell through the portal, and as we enter the Shadowfell, some of the group, besides Percy and Kaz, forget everything that happened in the Feywild.
Mhm.
Percy and Kaz, being a little bit biased, decided to help Maul get her memory back first. And
Via
then,
Zephyr doing a greater restoration.
yes, Zephyr has a ring of greater restoration and fixed Maul.
Yep, fixed her up.
And we proceeded just traveling through the Shadowfell, where eventually we were attacked by a group of vampires,
Mhm.
like lesser vampires.
And
And
Ezric was Ezric napped.
yeah, Ezric got kidnapped, so we kept trying to look for him, and we find this settlement that is being protected by a sheriff named Alistair.
No, Alistair, you're right. I don't know why I thought
Yep.
Alcott. Alistair.
Yeah, you're just thinking A.
I was. You're completely right. I'm not looking at my notes.
I am. Sheriff Alistair kind of takes us around the town, tells us about the fountain that we need to get to, and we do a bit of exploring. We spend a night. Come to find out, this place is horrible to sleep in.
Yeah, it gives you have to do saves, or it gives you levels of exhaustion while you're in.
Yeah,
the
you
lower
just can't
realms.
live in this place
So
without
I think Molly and
dying.
Molly and Zephyr,
Zephyr.
both failed and had a level of exhaustion upon waking up. Which is funny because middle of the night Zephyr had decided to play a trick on Molly and had made some creepy things happen. So Molly had fired her gun off, and it was just this whole shebang. So it's ironic that the two that were up with shenanigans were the ones that failed. But yeah, so that failed.
So we proceeded towards the fountain.
Yep.
And Mikhail and Zephyr jumped into it without. Well, Zephyr on top of Mikhail's back, who jumped into the portal through his prodding. They left into the Nine Hells without us, and we explored the town a bit. Kha'Zix found a magic hilt to a sword, and we jumped into the portal to Hell, where we gathered up with our group. Our cowboy, Alistair, also jumped into the portal, firing off a shot, hitting Zephyr, which was funny.
Yeah,
Um,
so in order to lure him over, because the previous night when Molly fired his gun, he had run in like, "Let's go! Is there some action here?" And Justin does a fun
let's get
cowboy
it.
voice, which makes me incredibly happy. So we decided to keep him and fired some shots off by the fountain. So he came a run in, and then told him like, "Ah, it's down there! It's in there! It's a portal! Go down there!" And so he just jumped right in, firing away. Shot Zephyr in the process. But now I have a fun cowboy companion, so that's a win.
hmm
Molly likes to
Uh,
kidnap folks.
so
It's
we
fun.
proceed through hell, trying to find our friend Ezric.
Right, well,
Kha'Zix.
did he just like show up?
No, we found him. He was like
Oh,
in a bar.
okay. Oh, right. He was like passed out.
Yeah. As we were kind of proceeding through, Kha'Zix saw one of the addicts that he had created through a drug that he had developed called Sight. And he felt very bad for this person who was affected by what he had created and traded for his wedding ring to give back to whoever was the opposite owner of the other ring, like the wife or husband.
Hmm.
Um,
So to
and
expand, could you
we,
expand on that a little? Like, Kaz makes drugs?
yeah, before Kha'Zix joined up with the party, he had worked for a man named the Jangly Man. He chose that name for a reason because if anyone finds it funny, he uses it as an excuse to beat the shit out of them. And he also has like a lot of keys to different locations that he just keeps on him. Um, so Kha'Zix used to develop drugs for this jangly man, and when he did that, eventually he decided to kind of cut ties because he felt like he was on the chopping block. Like once everything was said and done, like he wasn't needed anymore. So
Hmm.
he burnt down his old kind of lab and left. And come to find out, his drug is still being circulated, and this is one of the first people who ever took the drug. Um, so Kha'Zix just didn't have a good time looking at this guy.
One of your little testers.
Mhm.
Fair enough.
Um, so yeah, eventually we keep traveling and we find Ezric now changed into a more demonic form. Um, he is still our same friend and everything, but he's just a little bit different appearance wise.
Mm.
Um, we continue traveling through hell until we get to this huge like arena where we know like the chain is being held, and we get in and we see similar to the first chain we tried to stop, some cultists attacking this artifact trying to destroy it.
So we see two cultists and a fire genasi, and
A similar fire
yeah,
genasi to a long time ago.
yeah, I think it might have been the same one, but
Hmm.
but yeah, so we
It
go in
was.
and we kind of are sneaking our way in, and Molly, we see them, and Molly sees one of them and just looks down in this vat of lava below and just vortex the warps them straight in, and then
Yeah, a
one
horrible way to kill someone.
horrible way to kill somebody. Just 1 second you're standing there minding your business, next second you're in lava. But
Hmm.
yeah, and then I think one of the other party members, I forget who, followed it up
Mikhail.
with Mikhail. Mikhail did it to the other guy. So we just took out both of her minions immediately, and then we rolled for initiative.
Yep. It was a.
Unfortunately, this is
Mhm.
technically the one who killed Percy's mom, so he went a little crazy for a minute.
Yeah, we all kind of rushed around trying to get her. Kha'Zix ate like 5 shots in a round.
Right to the
Um,
face.
he blocked them actually. His AC was so high, and he was just bing, 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 just like, oh, you're trying to hit Kha'Zix? Might as well try a little bit harder. Um, but eventually, we do. Kha'Zix does go down due to an unfortunate self fireball, and when he gets back up, thanks to Zephyr's help, he spots Percy trying to cast a spell, which would most likely drop the fire genasi. And as Zephyr tried to stop Percy from attacking this woman, if it's not to basically to prevent the child from drawing blood, Kaz throws out his hand and counters Zephyr's counter spell, and that allows Percy to get the final attack and kill the fire genasi, Vasca Vale.
Yep. So he does the final hit, and then Mikhail's a weirdo, so he walks over, cuts her head off, and puts it in his chest.
Yeah, with his magic
weirdness.
tattoos.
And Molly is trying to do damage control with Zephyr and be like, "Oh my god, cover his eyes."
Don't look.
So yeah, Percy technically avenges his mom's murderer, and Molly makes a note to get Percy therapy as soon as they get home.
Yep. After that, we were teleported out of hell back to Vulcanith, which is the Githyanki who teleported us around in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And Molly was like, "Yo, I need to go help the resistance. I need to go help my dad." So he teleports us back to the resistance headquarters, where we meet back with Maul's mom and begin like planning to go save him.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of shenanigans, if you want to call it, does happen before we go on to the night mission. Ezric, due to some prodding from Molly, gets with Kha'Zix and Mikhail, who cut off his arm, which has the cursed item bow in it.
Yeah, they couldn't get the band
And-
off, so they just cut the arm off, which is just the thing that happened.
So after that shenanigan, we get him a robot arm, which was very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like a night. Maul visits an old elven friend, and then we begin the flight mission to the capital, Aline, which is the capital.
Yeah. So her mom had gotten us a bunch of what are they called again? Dragon
Wyverns.
things? Wyverns. I asked you that earlier, and I still don't know.
It's
so
fine.
she got a bunch of wyverns. So some of the group gets a wyvern. Molly just uses her broom, even though the wyverns are a little bit faster. Because the broom doesn't question her decisions while flying. And then, and then they head off on this night mission. During which Molly does mix up a random potion for experiment's sake, because she does that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it gives it over to Ezric, who volunteers to drink it, and it makes his hair glow, like a thing, which makes us easy to spot by nearby airships. So we got attacked.
Oh yeah. Unfortunately, we lose one of the resistance members who was flying with us, and
like a harpoon in the chest.
Yeah, harpooned, and we're able to take out the airship by destroying its flight crystals.
Full Rambo and just machine guns the shit out of the entire ship.
Yeah, and continues to do so as the ship is falling.
It's fine.
Kha'Zix, feeling a little bit bad that these people were being so brutally murdered, flies down and grabs the captain off of the ship. And through some high convincing rolls, he convinces her to surrender, and the party captures her and makes it so that she can't escape, and sends her back with some of the resistance members back to the resistance camp.
Yeah. Molly
Um,
feeds her a potion of paralysis that lasts for, I think, Justin rolled 16 hours or something like that. So by
like
the
6 hours or something. I can't remember.
it lasted like she was still paralyzed when we got back, so it lasted a while. I know, at least.
Okay.
But yeah, so we send her the back along with the rest of the resistance fighters. So I think they had sent like 4 people with us, and we were just like, you guys just go back. During that
Hmm.
fight though, as well, Zephyr did fall off of his animal,
Wyvern.
his
Yeah.
wyvern, and even though he's an air
Went
genasi,
splat.
apparently he's not able to levitate. So
Yeah,
he
he
hit the
has like
ground.
a flight dysfunction.
Yeah,
He can't get himself up.
he's hover disabled. But yeah, he just face planted right into the earth, and the only reason he survived is because he cast what was it?
Death ward.
Death Ward. He cast Death Ward on himself. I think Justin did the math and he took like 230 points of damage or something like that.
Yeah, he
And
would have been
like
dead like
like
two or three
three
times
times
over.
over. Yeah. So he had a limp for a minute. I'm not sure if he still does. He probably does, but
Yeah, he does. Zephyr was crying out for some kind of
like
after
permanent.
effect.
Yeah.
He was like, "Please, please
Please
give me
hurt me.
something."
So yeah,
Um,
he looked real bad. He got a little bit of health back, and then we met them back down there.
hmm. We through some deception and some sneaking and some just not caring.
Shenanigans.
Yeah, we're able to get into the capital and meet up with Maul's old family friend,
Yeah,
who gives us plans for the prison
and some free blood.
where where Maul's father was being held. So kind of scoping everything out, we proceed towards the prison and we decide that Maul and Kha'Zix are the best people to infiltrate.
Because they're
So
small
the
and they fit in
yeah,
tight
they're
spaces.
small. They're so
Small.
small.
So small.
The rest of the group is on the outside, just like waiting in case anything happens. Um,
They do manage to
Maul,
kill a guy while they're waiting, but what can you do?
yeah. What are you gonna do when you get discovered?
Yeah,
Kill a guy.
you just kill a guy, right?
Um,
Murder.
so Maul and Kaz proceed through the prison ventilation system and are luckily able to find her father on the basement level.
Yeah. So they have to do some listening and some sneaking around, but they pretty much take the vents into the building, around the building, and then they hop out of the vent, go down the stairs, and then hop back in the vent. And then Kaz does some stuff with some like rats. It makes it
some
sound
rat
like there's rats
noises,
noises.
making guards do the old "What was that noise?"
Yeah, what was that? What was
And
that? And so they wander
I
around.
guess it was nothing.
And then Kaz does one really cool sneak attack murder.
Yeah, I jump down from the vent onto a guard and I stab him with a shadow rapier that uses my own shadow as the blade. And as I kind of like stab into his spine, I'm just pumping every damage I can. Like I'm hitting him with the Fury of the Small, and luckily he just goes down in one hit.
Just drops this guard immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have time to hide the body.
Yep. So
and thanks to some really good luck, we get out of there. But Molly discovers her father very badly beaten and blinded, and just emaciated and just not doing good. So she vortex warps him back into the vent, and then through some ingenuity, they make it back outside. And Molly flies off with her dad immediately, and leaves Kaz to work with the rest of the party to get out.
Kha'Zix books it over to the group, or actually, I think he books it separately. I can't remember, but
I'm not sure.
We're able to just kind of run out of town, get back to our wyverns, and fly back to the Resistance.
So they successfully rescue her dad, drop him off at home, get the doctors and stuff. The doctor, unfortunately, we find out after the fact, is a werewolf, which causes some tension once again with Ezric. But it's not the worst, I guess. He doesn't actually try to murder anyone. And then yeah, we spend about a day there, just kind of settling down, and Molly gets a chance to spend some time with her family, and then they contact the Githyanki and Velnor and all those guys, and they teleport back to the ship. So
Back
so
to our
they're
home.
back to the country they came from.
Yeah. Back in Watergate, we're able to kind of stretch our legs, kind of relax a bit.
But we did find out
Kha'Zix.
the time in the Feywild had been much longer, so we were gone for about a month and a half total, rather than
Oh
like
yeah,
the week that, or not even week.
that
We
it was
thought
like
we were only
3
gone for
days,
yeah, we only
two
slept
two
like
days, 3
3
days.
times. It was like 4 or
Mm-hmm.
5 days, yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't sleep in hell. We just went straight through hell.
Well, we slept once in Shadowfell, and then we went
We
to
slept
hell.
in. We slept twice in the Feywild, once in the Shadowfell, and then we didn't sleep in hell.
Right. So yeah. So even though it was that short amount of time, it'd been a month and a half. So we lost a lot of time.
Yeah. Lucky for Kha'Zix though, he had his business working in the background. Coming back to his first paycheck of around 1,500 gold pieces.
The ale is selling well.
Yeah, he used all that campaigning as a champion of the gods to pay off.
Yeah.
So that's why you got to have branding, got to have merchandise,
Yep. So
got to
we
have
get
stuff
back.
people
He
will
does
buy.
that. Molly buys Percy some new shoes, and then our good friend Zephyr has a very interesting experience where he is summoned to the office of Mr. S, the crime lord extraordinaire, and is instructed to kill Molly. So
Make
he's
her
been
sleep with the fishes.
yeah, to sleep with the fishes. So he's been told that Molly is a pain in his side, and that he would like Molly to no longer exist. So
He would like that
Molly
pain to be gone.
would like that pain to be gone, like to remove the thorn. So yeah, Molly now has a bounty out on her head from one of the other party members, and yeah, so that's fun.
That's pretty much where we ended it off.
Yeah, and then
The
this
first
most
stream
recent
was
campaign.
when we first got back.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the entire history. We missed a lot, and there's probably a lot of NPCs we'll mention later on that we've talked to, and
Yeah, but
things
it's
that we
running
didn't
on 3
mention, but
hours where we've discussed enough that if anyone does want to listen to this and kind of hear up to this point, thank you.
yeah, thank
Because
you. So sorry it took a long time.
this is a long campaign that we've put a lot of time and love into, that we appreciate Justin for everything that he's put into this to give us a good time and to
For
give
sure.
himself something to do.
Yeah, Justin's doing a great job. I know he's had to deal with a lot of our shenanigans and BS, so thank you so much for your patience, Justin.
But I think that about covers it. We can sign off
pretty much
here as
everything.
the campaign session with Mal and Kaz.
Campaign history with Mullen Kaz.
Campaign history.
Yeah, so thanks a bunch, guys. We'll be around Fridays,
our next stream
7:30
on
Mountain Time.
Fridays.
Not sure what it is on the other time zones.
8:30 CT time.
8:30
Texas
CT.
time.
7:30 right time if you're in the correct time zone. Thank you.
If you're weird.
Yeah, we'll be excited to see you guys soon, and I hope you learn to enjoy this journey as much as we have, and that you'll follow us through the next big steps. We've got a long way to go.
All right. Signing off. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.